Hey guys, tonight we begin with something that still haunts the collective memory of an entire nation. The scream of sirens, the whistle of falling bombs, the awful silence before the explosion. We are diving into what it was really like to be a civilian in London during the Blitz. And I need to tell you right now, forget what you have seen in the movies. The stiff upper lip, the cheerful cockneys singing in the underground, the sense of noble purpose. All of that existed, yes, but it existed alongside raw, primal terror. Nights when you genuinely did not know if you would see the sunrise. So before you settle in, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from and what time it is for you. It is always fascinating to see who is joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let us ease into tonight's journey together. Congratulations, you have just become a civilian in London on September 7th, 1940. It is early evening, and you are hearing a sound you have never heard before. Not quite like an air raid siren, but something deeper, more ominous. The docks are burning. The entire eastern horizon is orange and red and black. And you are starting to realize that everything you thought you knew about safety, about home, about normal life is about to be shattered. For the next 57 consecutive nights, and then on and off for months after that, German bombers will turn your city into a vision of hell. Welcome to the London Blitz, where sleep becomes a luxury, safety becomes a myth, and every sunset brings a fresh wave of dread. Chapter 1. The First Night. So let us start with that first night, September 7th, 1940. You are at home. Maybe you are having dinner. Maybe you are listening to the wireless. Then you hear it. That rising and falling wail that will become the soundtrack to your nightmares. The air raid siren. Your first instinct is confusion. There have been false alarms before. Scattered raids. Nothing sustained. Nothing like this. But then you hear the sound of aircraft engines. Not one or two. Hundreds. A droning hum that makes your windows vibrate. You step outside, and what you see stops your heart. The sky to the east is glowing. Not sunset. This is something else. The docks are on fire. Entire warehouses of timber, rubber, paint, sugar, rum, all burning at once. The smoke column rises thousands of feet into the air, visible for miles. The bombs start falling around 7 in the evening. If you live in the East End, you are in the worst of it. Stepney, Poplar, West Ham, Bermondsey. These are working-class neighborhoods, tightly packed terraced houses, narrow streets, not a lot of green space. The Luftwaffe is aiming for the docks and the industrial areas, but accuracy is not exactly their strong suit. High explosive bombs and incendiaries rain down indiscriminately. Here is what a high explosive bomb sounds like. First, there is a whistle, high-pitched, descending in tone as the bomb falls. It lasts maybe 3 or 4 seconds, but it feels like an eternity. Your brain is trying to calculate where it will land. Too close? Not close enough? Then the explosion. Not just a sound. A physical force that hits you in the chest, that makes your ears ring, that shatters windows 3 streets away. The ground shakes. Dust and debris fill the air. And if you are close enough, the blast wave can kill you without leaving a visible mark, rupturing your internal organs through sheer overpressure. That first night, the bombing continues until 4:30 in the morning. 9.5 hours of sustained attack. You huddle in whatever shelter you can find. If you are lucky, your neighborhood has a public shelter. If not, you are under the stairs, in the basement, under the kitchen table. Anywhere that feels even slightly safer than being in an upstairs bedroom. You can hear the bombs walking across the city. Crump, crump, crump. Each one a little closer or a little farther away. You pray that the next one is farther away. When dawn finally comes, you emerge to a changed world. Streets you have known your entire life are unrecognizable. Buildings are collapsed into rubble. Fires are still burning. Water mains have burst, flooding the roads. Gas mains are leaking, adding the smell of gas to the smoke and dust. Bodies are being pulled from the wreckage. That first night alone kills over 400 people and injures more than 1,600. And this is just the beginning. Here is the thing nobody tells you about that first night. It breaks something in your sense of security. Before this, home was safe. Night was for sleeping. The sky was just the sky. After this, home is vulnerable. Night is dangerous. And the sky is a threat. You will never feel quite safe again. Chapter 2. The Anderson Shelter. So let us talk about your new bedroom. If you are one of the lucky ones, you have an Anderson shelter in your back garden. Named after Sir John Anderson, the Lord Privy Seal who championed their distribution, these things are your best chance at survival. But let me be clear, they are not comfortable. The Anderson shelter is made of corrugated steel sheets bolted together into an arch. It is about 6 feet high at the center, 4.5 feet wide, and 6.5 feet long. You dig a hole in your garden about 4 feet deep, sink the shelter into it, then pile the excavated earth over the top. The idea is that the earth absorbs the blast and shrapnel. And it works. If a bomb lands directly on your house, the Anderson shelter will probably save your life. Probably. You climb down into it via a short set of steps. The entrance is just a hole with maybe a curtain or a piece of wood for a door. Inside, there are benches along each side. On a good night, you can fit 6 people in here. On a realistic night, you are packed in with your family, maybe a neighbor or two, and it is tight. Really tight. Your knees are touching the person across from you. You cannot stand up straight. And the ceiling is so low that taller people have to hunch. Now let us talk about what it feels like to spend the night in here. First, it is cold. Bone deep, damp, miserable cold. You are essentially in a hole in the ground surrounded by metal. In autumn and winter, the temperature inside is barely above freezing. You bring blankets, but they are never enough. The damp seeps through everything. Your clothes feel wet even when they are not. Your fingers go numb. You huddle together for warmth, which would be fine except you are already crammed in so tight that any movement is a negotiation. Second, it is dark. There is no electricity down here. You have a candle or a small oil lamp if you are lucky, and that is it. The flame flickers with every gust of wind, casting dancing shadows on the corrugated walls. When the bombing starts and you have to blow out the candle because you are terrified the light will make you a target, the darkness is absolute. You cannot see your hand in front of your face. Third, it floods. Regularly. Remember, you are in a hole in the ground. When it rains, which it does often in England, water seeps in through the entrance and pools on the floor. You put down wooden planks or bricks to keep your feet out of the water, but it is a losing battle. By morning, everything is soaked. Your shoes squelch when you walk. The blankets smell like mildew. And if the drainage is bad, you are sitting in several inches of cold, dirty water all night. The smell is its own special kind of awful. Damp earth, mildew, unwashed bodies because let's be honest, you have not had a proper bath in days. Someone always needs to pee, so there is usually a bucket in the corner. That adds to the aroma. In summer, it is stifling and airless. In winter, it is freezing and airless. There is never enough ventilation. And here is the worst part. You cannot see what is happening outside. You hear everything. The drone of aircraft engines. The whistle of bombs. The crump of explosions. The crack of anti-aircraft guns. The crash of buildings collapsing. But you have no idea how close any of it is. You do not know if the next bomb is going to be the one that lands in your garden. You just sit there in the dark, cold and damp and terrified, listening to your city being destroyed above your head. Want to sleep? Good luck. Even if you could get comfortable, which you cannot, the noise is constant. And even on the rare quiet nights when the bombers do not come, you lie awake waiting for them. Your body is so conditioned to the fear that it will not let you rest. Chapter 3. The Blackout. Let us talk about something that makes every single night more dangerous, even when the bombs are not falling. The blackout. Starting from the very first day of the war, September 3rd, 1939, strict blackout regulations are enforced across Britain. The logic is simple. If the Germans cannot see the city, they cannot bomb it accurately. So every single light, from the smallest candle in a window to the massive streetlights of Piccadilly Circus, has to be extinguished or completely covered. No light escapes. None. You have blackout curtains on every window, Thick, heavy material that blocks out every photon. Before you light a candle or turn on a lamp, you draw those curtains tight and check obsessively for gaps. Because if even a sliver of light shows through, an air raid precautions warden will be hammering on your door within minutes, shouting, "Put that light out." And if you are a repeat offender, you can be fined or even jailed. Cars and buses have their headlights masked with slotted covers that let through only a dim horizontal sliver of light. It is barely enough to see the road. Trams and trains run with darkened interiors. Traffic lights are fitted with tiny hoods, so they are only visible from directly in front. Even cigarettes are dangerous. That tiny red glow can supposedly be seen from the air, so you have to cup your hand around it or smoke undercover. Walking in the blackout is terrifying. There are no street lights, no shop windows glowing, no light from houses. The darkness is total and disorienting. You cannot see curbs, so you trip constantly. You walk into lampposts, postboxes, other people. If there is no moon, you literally cannot see your hand in front of your face. People paint white stripes on trees and lampposts to make them slightly more visible, but it does not help much. The death toll from the blackout is horrifying. In the first 4 months of the war, before the Blitz even starts, 4,000 people die in road accidents. 4,000. That is more than are killed by enemy action in the same period. Pedestrians are hit by cars they never see coming. Cars crash into each other at intersections. People fall into canals and rivers because they cannot see the edge. Old people trip on steps and break their necks. And here is where it gets worse. When the air raid sirens go off and you have to leave your house to get to the shelter, you are navigating this darkness while bombs are falling. You stumble through your garden, trying to find the Anderson shelter entrance by feel. You run through streets where fires are burning in the distance, giving just enough light to create confusing, jumping shadows but not enough to actually see where you are going. You trip over rubble from previous raids. You step in craters filled with water. And all the while, you are listening to the whistle of bombs and wondering if one of them has your name on it. The psychological effect is crushing. Darkness is primal fear. We are wired to fear it. And when darkness is combined with the threat of sudden, violent death, it does something to your mind. Every night, as the sun sets, dread sets in. Another night, another 12 hours of darkness and fear. Another night of not knowing if you will see the morning. Children are especially affected. They develop night terrors. They scream when the lights go out. They wet the bed. They cling to their parents. And there is nothing you can do to protect them because you are just as scared as they are. Chapter 4. The Sirens. Let us talk about the sound that will haunt you for the rest of your life. The air raid siren. The system is simple in theory. When radar stations on the coast detect incoming enemy aircraft, the alert goes to Fighter Command, then to regional control centers, and finally to local air raid warning systems. The sirens are activated. You get maybe 5 to 15 minutes warning before the bombs start falling. Sometimes less. The siren itself is designed to be impossible to ignore. It is a motorized device that produces a rising and falling wail, starting low, climbing to a high pitch, then falling back down. Over and over. The sound carries for miles. You cannot mistake it for anything else. When you hear it, everything stops. You are having dinner? You leave the food on the table and run. You are in the bath? You get out, wrap yourself in whatever is closest, and run. You are asleep? You jolt awake, heart pounding, and run, because you do not know how much time you have. The sound triggers pure panic, especially in the early days. People scream. They run in all directions. Mothers grab their children and sprint for the shelters. The streets become chaos. And if you are caught outside when the sirens start, the fear is overwhelming. You look for the nearest shelter. A public shelter, the underground station, a shop basement, anywhere. You run and you do not stop until you are underground. Here is what the siren does to you psychologically. Pavlov would have loved it. After a few nights, the sound becomes associated with terror. Your body starts reacting before your mind even processes what is happening. You hear that first rising note, and your heart rate spikes. Your hands start shaking. Your stomach drops. Some people vomit. Some people lose control of their bladder. The fear response is that strong. And it is not just at night. The sirens go off during the day too, though the night raids are worse. You could be at work, at school, shopping, anywhere. The siren sounds, and everything stops. Shops close. Factories shut down. Schools send children to shelters. The entire city grinds to a halt. Now here is the truly cruel part. Sometimes the sirens go off and nothing happens. A false alarm. Or the bombers change course. Or they dump their bombs elsewhere. You spend hours in the shelter, cramped and cold and terrified, and then the all-clear sounds and it turns out you were never in danger. But you could not have known that. So every time the siren sounds, you have to assume this is it. This is the night you die. The all-clear is a single sustained note, lasting 2 minutes. When you hear it, relief floods through you so intensely it is almost painful. You survived another one. You climb out of the shelter, stiff and sore and exhausted, and stumble back to whatever is left of your normal life. Until the next time. And there is always a next time. After weeks of this, you start to develop a strange relationship with the sirens. You hate them, you dread them, but you also depend on them. That warning is the only thing standing between you and sudden death. When the sirens fail, when bombs fall without warning, the terror is even worse because you did not even have time to seek shelter. Some people get so conditioned to the sound that they cannot sleep without it. The silence is more frightening than the wail. At least when the sirens are going, you know what is happening. Silence means you are waiting, and the waiting is agony. Chapter 5. The Shelter Life. Now let us get into what it is actually like to spend night after night in public shelters. Because not everyone has an Anderson shelter in their back garden. Many people live in flats, or they do not have gardens, or the ground is too waterlogged to dig. For them, it is the public shelters. These vary wildly in quality. Some are purpose-built brick and concrete structures. Some are just basements of public buildings. Some are converted railway arches. And some are literally just trenches dug in parks and covered with sheets of corrugated iron and sandbags. You take what you can get. The official capacity of these shelters is always exceeded. Always. A shelter rated for 100 people might have 200 crammed inside on a bad night. You arrive early if you want any chance of a spot. Some people start queuing in the afternoon. They bring blankets, food, thermoses of tea. They stake out their territory and defend it. Inside, the conditions are medieval. The floors are concrete or bare earth. There are no beds. You sit on benches if you are lucky, or on the floor if you are not. The only light comes from a few dim bulbs dangling from the ceiling, if there is even electricity. Ventilation is poor. The air is thick and stale. The smell is indescribable. Hundreds of unwashed bodies in an enclosed space. Damp clothes. Urine because the toilet facilities are abysmal. Usually just a bucket behind a blanket. Sometimes not even that. People defecate and urinate in corners when the buckets overflow. The stench is so thick you can taste it. Rats are everywhere. They scurry along the walls, bold as brass. You see them running over people's feet, stealing food from bags. There are stories of rats biting sleeping children. Probably true. Lice and fleas are rampant. Within weeks of sleeping in these shelters, you are infested. You itch constantly. Your scalp crawls. Your clothes are full of bugs. Disease spreads like wildfire. Tuberculosis, diphtheria, scabies, impetigo. People coughing and sneezing in a confined space, sharing the same stale air for hours. Children get sick and there is nowhere to isolate them. They just cough and wheeze in the corner while everyone else tries to stay away, which is impossible when you are packed in like sardines. The noise is constant. Babies crying, children whining, adults arguing over space, snoring, coughing, the shuffle of feet, the murmur of conversation, and underneath it all, the sounds from outside. The bombs, the guns, the explosions. You cannot escape it. Let us talk about what you do to pass the time. Some people knit. Some people play cards. Some people pray. A lot of people just sit in silence, staring at nothing. Children get restless. They fight. They cry. Parents try to keep them quiet, but there is only so much you can do when a 4-year-old has been cooped up for 8 hours. Sleep is nearly impossible. You are sitting upright on a hard bench or lying on cold concrete. You are surrounded by noise. You are terrified, but exhaustion eventually wins. You drift into a fitful doze, jerking awake every time a bomb falls close. You wake up stiff and sore, your neck aching, your back screaming. And here is something dark. Theft is common. You fall asleep and someone steals your bag. Your rations, your identification papers, your valuables. Gone. The authorities try to police it, but there are not enough wardens to watch everyone. Desperation makes people do terrible things. Fights break out. Someone takes someone else's spot. Someone's child is too loud. Someone is hoarding space with their belongings. Tempers are short. People are exhausted and scared and traumatized. Violence erupts over the smallest things. Men come to blows. Women scream at each other. And there is nowhere to go to escape it. You are trapped in this hole with these people until the all-clear sounds. Chapter 6. The Underground Stations. The government does not want people using the underground as shelters. They worry about crowding, about public morale, about disrupting transport. But the people do not care what the government wants. When the bombs start falling, they head for the tube stations, and there is nothing anyone can do to stop them. At first, the authorities try to enforce the ban. They lock the gates, but people break them open. They force their way in. Eventually, the government gives up and accepts reality. The underground becomes the largest public shelter system in London, with up to 177,000 people sleeping in the stations every night. You arrive at the station in the late afternoon if you want a decent spot. The platforms fill up first. People spread blankets and stake their territory. Then the passages fill. Then the stairs. Eventually, people are sleeping on every available surface. The platforms are so crowded that when a train comes through, people have to press themselves against the walls to avoid being hit. The platforms are divided into sections. The section closest to the edge is kept clear for passengers who are actually using the trains. Behind that, the sleeping area. People lie head to toe, packed so tightly you cannot walk between them without stepping on someone. Families huddle together. Strangers sleep inches apart. The conditions are only slightly better than the surface shelters. The air is stale and thick. The smell is a mix of unwashed humanity, urine, and the distinctive oily smell of the underground. Rats are less of a problem here, but lice and fleas still thrive. The concrete is hard and cold. The noise of trains rumbling through makes sleep difficult. But there are advantages. You are deep underground. Really deep. Some stations like Leicester Square or Hampstead are over 50 feet down. You feel safer here. The bombs are happening far above you. You can still hear them, feel the vibrations through the earth, but they seem distant, less immediate. A strange community develops in the stations. The same families return to the same spots night after night. Neighbors stake out adjacent spaces. People share food, look after each other's children, tell stories to pass the time. Musicians bring instruments and perform for crowds. Someone starts selling cups of tea. Someone else sets up a makeshift lending library with battered paperbacks. The authorities eventually embrace this and try to make improvements. Bunk beds are installed in some stations, proper toilets, even medical posts. Canteens are set up selling hot food. Entertainment is organized. There are concerts, film screenings, educational lectures. The government realizes that if people are going to use the tube as shelters anyway, they might as well make it as livable as possible. But do not romanticize this. It is still a concrete hole packed with terrified people. The sanitation is barely adequate. Disease still spreads. And there are new dangers. On October 14, 1940, a bomb penetrates the road above Balham Station and ruptures water mains and sewage pipes. The station floods with water and sewage. 68 people drown or are crushed in the panic. On January 11, 1941, a bomb hits Bank Station, killing 57 people. The underground is safer than the surface, but it is not safe. And here is something nobody talks about: the psychological dependency. After months of sleeping in the tube, some people cannot sleep anywhere else. The idea of being in a house above ground is terrifying. They would rather spend every night on a concrete platform surrounded by strangers than risk being caught in a building when the bombs fall. The underground becomes a crutch, and they cannot let it go even after the Blitz ends. Chapter 7. The Incendiaries. Let us talk about a weapon that is designed to burn your city to ash. The incendiary bomb. These are small, about a foot long, weighing maybe 2 pounds. They look almost harmless compared to the massive high-explosive bombs, but they are incredibly effective at causing destruction. The Luftwaffe drops them by the thousands, bundled together in containers that break open in midair and scatter the incendiaries across a wide area. One bomber can seed an entire neighborhood with fire. The incendiary is a magnesium thermite device. When it hits the ground and the fuse activates, it burns at around 2,400 degrees Celsius. Hot enough to melt through steel. Hot enough to ignite anything combustible within feet. And here is the cruel genius of it. You cannot put it out with water. Water on a thermite fire causes an explosion of steam and molten metal that spreads the fire further. Sand and dirt are the only things that work, smothering the reaction. The tactic is simple and horrifyingly effective. Drop incendiaries first to start fires and create light. Then drop high explosives to destroy water mains and firefighting infrastructure. Then drop more incendiaries. The fires spread unchecked. Buildings become infernos. Entire streets burn. If an incendiary lands on your roof, you have maybe 60 seconds before it burns through into your attic and sets your house on fire. The government issues instructions. Every household is supposed to have a stirrup pump, buckets of water, buckets of sand, and someone on fire watch duty. When the sirens sound, you are supposed to stay in or near your house, ready to deal with incendiaries. But here is the problem. You are being asked to stand on your roof or in your garden while bombs are falling. To make yourself visible and vulnerable while a raid is in progress. To risk being killed by high explosives or shrapnel while you are trying to put out a fire takes a special kind of courage, or desperation, or both. When an incendiary lands in your street, you grab the stirrup pump and a bucket of water. The pump is a simple device, hand-operated, that creates a jet of water. You aim it at the incendiary, trying to cool the surrounding area and prevent the fire from spreading. Because remember, you cannot put the incendiary itself out with water. You are just trying to stop it from igniting everything around it. Once you have doused the immediate area, you shovel sand over the incendiary to smother it. If it has already burned through your roof and landed in the attic, you have a problem. You have to go up there, into a space that is filling with smoke and heat, and try to deal with it before it sets the whole house ablaze. People die doing this. The smoke overcomes them. The heat is too much. The ceiling collapses. Or they are up in the attic when a high explosive bomb hits the house next door and brings their building down too. The fire brigade is overwhelmed. There are not enough pumps, not enough firefighters, not enough water. The high explosives have ruptured the mains. The firefighters are running hoses from the Thames, from swimming pools, from anywhere they can find water. But they cannot be everywhere at once. Hundreds of fires burning simultaneously across the city. They have to prioritize. Save what can be saved. Let the rest burn. December 29th, 1940. This is the Second Great Fire of London. The Luftwaffe targets the city, the financial heart of London, with a massive incendiary raid. It is a Sunday night. The offices are empty. There are no fire watchers on duty in the buildings. The incendiaries fall unhindered. Within hours, 1,500 fires are burning. The fire brigade is helpless. Historic buildings, ancient churches, irreplaceable archives, all consumed. St. Paul's Cathedral survives by sheer luck and the efforts of a handful of fire watchers on the roof, but the area around it is devastated. The psychological impact of the incendiaries is enormous. Fire is primal fear. Burning to death is one of the worst ways to die. People who survive fires often die from smoke inhalation first, which is a mercy. But if you are trapped in a building that is burning, if the stairs have collapsed and you cannot get out, you have a choice. Burn or jump. Many people choose to jump. Better a quick death from the fall than burning alive. And the fires create their own weather. Firestorms develop where multiple fires merge and create updrafts so powerful they generate winds that feed more oxygen to the flames. Buildings spontaneously combust from the radiant heat of nearby fires. The temperature in the streets becomes unbearable. Asphalt melts. Metal warps. People caught in these firestorms do not stand a chance. Chapter 8. The morning after. So the all clear has sounded. You have survived another night. Now let us talk about what it is like to emerge from the shelter and see what the bombs have done to your world. The first thing that hits you is the smell. Smoke, thick and acrid, hanging in the air. Brick dust, cordite from explosives, gas from ruptured mains. Sometimes the sweet, horrible smell of death if bodies are buried in rubble nearby. You cough. Your eyes water. Your lungs ache. The second thing is the silence. After hours of explosions and fire and chaos, the sudden quiet is eerie. No traffic, no voices, just the crackle of dying fires and the drip of water from broken mains. Sometimes you hear the creak of a building settling, about to collapse. You learn to recognize that sound and give those buildings a wide berth. You walk through your street and try to process what you are seeing. Houses that were there yesterday are gone. Just rubble. A pile of bricks and shattered timber and personal belongings strewn across the road. You see a teddy bear in the debris and your stomach turns because you know a child lived there. You see furniture, crushed and splintered. You see wallpaper from what used to be someone's living room, now exposed to the sky. Some buildings are still standing but gutted by fire. The walls are blackened. The windows are empty sockets. The roof has collapsed inward. You can see through to the next street. These buildings are dangerous. They could collapse at any moment. But people are already picking through them, looking for anything salvageable. The streets are impassable in places. Craters from high explosives have torn up the roads. Some are 20 feet deep and 30 feet across. They fill with water from broken mains, creating instant ponds. You have to detour, picking your way over rubble, avoiding unexploded bombs marked with red flags, stepping around the hastily cordoned off danger zones. Rescue workers are already at it, working frantically. They are listening for sounds from beneath the rubble. Tapping. Voices calling for help. When they hear something, they start digging. Carefully because the wreckage is unstable. One wrong move and tons of debris can shift, crushing whoever is trapped below or burying the rescuers themselves. You hear stories of miraculous survivals. Someone pulled from the wreckage after 12 hours, alive and conscious. A baby found unharmed in a crib surrounded by collapsed walls. But you also hear the other stories. Bodies recovered in pieces. Families wiped out completely. An entire shelter taking a direct hit. Everyone inside killed instantly. The bodies are being brought out and laid in rows, covered with sheets or blankets. You walk past and try not to look, but you cannot help it. You are looking for neighbors, friends, relatives, hoping you do not recognize anyone, terrified that you will. Sometimes you do, and that image will stay with you forever. The homeless are everywhere. People whose houses have been destroyed or deemed too dangerous to enter. They stand in the street with whatever they manage to grab. Some are still in night clothes. Some are injured, bleeding, dazed. Rest centers are set up in schools and church halls, offering tea, blankets, a place to sit. The WVS, the Women's Voluntary Service, is there with food and comfort. But what people really need is somewhere to live, and that is in short supply. You go to check on your own house if you still have one. Maybe it is intact. Maybe there is blast damage, windows blown out, roof tiles missing, cracks in the walls. You board up the windows with whatever you can find. You sweep up the broken glass. You try to make it livable again. Or maybe you find it gone. Just rubble. Everything you own. Every memory. Every photograph. Every possession. Buried or burned or blown to pieces. You stand there and try to comprehend it. But you cannot. It is too big. Too final. And here is the cruelest part. You have to keep going. There is no time to grieve, no time to process. You have a job to go to, children to feed, a city to keep running. So you do what the government propaganda keeps telling you to do. You keep calm and carry on. You go to work if your workplace still exists. You queue for rations if the shops are still standing. You go through the motions of normal life in a world that is anything but normal. And all the while, in the back of your mind, one thought. Tonight it happens again. Chapter 9. The Children. Let us talk about the youngest victims of the Blitz. The children. Before the war, the government evacuates over 1 million children from London and other cities, sending them to the countryside where they will supposedly be safe. But not all parents agree to this. Some refuse to be separated from their children. Some children are evacuated but then brought back when the expected bombing does not materialize immediately. By the time the Blitz starts in September 1940, there are still hundreds of thousands of children in London. These children are experiencing something no child should experience. Nightly terror, constant danger, death all around them, and they are trying to process it with developing brains that are not equipped to handle this level of trauma. The very youngest do not understand what is happening. They just know that when the loud noise starts, everyone gets scared and they have to go to the dark, cold, uncomfortable place. They pick up on their parents' fear. They cry. They cling. They develop separation anxiety so severe that they scream if their mother leaves the room for even a moment. Older children, 5 to 10 years old, understand more. They know the bombs are trying to kill them. They know people die. They might have seen it happen. A classmate killed. A neighbor. Maybe their own sibling. They have nightmares. They wet the bed. They develop phobias. Fear of the dark. Fear of loud noises. Fear of being alone. Some become withdrawn, silent, staring. Others become aggressive, acting out violently. Teenagers cope differently. Some become fatalistic. They take insane risks, staying out during raids, exploring bomb sites, collecting shrapnel. They feel invincible, or they have decided that if they are going to die anyway, they might as well live. Others become hyper-responsible, taking on adult duties, helping with fire watch, working in rescue teams, trying to protect younger siblings. School continues, in theory, but it is chaotic. Buildings are bombed. Teachers are killed or conscripted. Classes are held in shelters, in church halls, wherever there is space. Children bring their gas masks. Air raid drills are routine. When the sirens sound, lessons stop and everyone files to the shelters. Sometimes they are there for hours. Education suffers. How are you supposed to learn arithmetic when bombs are falling? The government tries to maintain some normalcy. School meals continue. Free milk for children. But the rations are tight. Children are always hungry. They grow up malnourished, stunted. The lack of fresh fruit and vegetables causes deficiencies. Rickets makes a comeback. Teeth rot because sugar is rationed, but there is no dental care. Play changes. Children play at air raids. They build shelters out of furniture. They make bomb noises and pretend to be killed. It is how they process what is happening to them. Adults find it disturbing, but what can they do? This is the children's reality. Orphans are everywhere. Both parents killed in a raid, and now the child is alone. Extended family takes them in if possible. Otherwise, they go to orphanages which are overflowing. Some children lose one parent and watch the other fall apart. The surviving parent cannot cope, turns to drink, becomes abusive. The child has lost not one but both parents, just in different ways. And then there are the children who are in shelters when they take a direct hit. Balham Station, Bank Station, dozens of others. Entire families wiped out. Or a child survives but their parents do not. They are pulled from the wreckage, physically unhurt, but psychologically destroyed. They do not speak. They do not cry. They just stare. Some children are separated from their parents in the chaos of a raid. They get lost in the crowd rushing to the shelters. They end up in a different shelter. When the all-clear sounds, they cannot find their parents. Panic sets in. They wander the streets crying. Most are reunited eventually. Some are not. Their parents are dead and they do not know it yet. The long-term effects on this generation are profound. Post-traumatic stress disorder, though it will not be called that for decades. Depression, anxiety, attachment issues. Many will carry these scars for life. Some will never talk about it. burying the trauma deep. Others will be unable to stop talking about it, reliving it over and over. And here is something dark. Some children become so conditioned to the violence that they lose the ability to feel. They see a body in the street and they do not react. They watch their house burn and they do not cry. They have shut down emotionally as a survival mechanism. Getting them back, teaching them to feel again will take years. Some never fully recover. Chapter 10. The Wardens and Rescuers. Let us talk about the people who run towards the danger while everyone else is running away. The ARP wardens, the rescue squads, the firefighters. The ones who try to hold the city together when it is being blown apart. Air raid precautions wardens are civilians, volunteers mostly, with a smattering of paid positions. Their job is to enforce blackout regulations, direct people to shelters, report incidents, and provide first aid. When the bombs start falling, they are out in the streets, exposed, trying to help. You recognize them by their steel helmets with a white W painted on the front. They wear armbands. They carry whistles to signal the all clear or warn of danger. They are supposed to patrol their sectors during raids, which sounds absolutely insane, and it is. Walking around in the open while bombs are falling, while shrapnel is raining down, while buildings are collapsing. Many are killed doing this. But they do it anyway because someone has to. When a bomb hits a building, the wardens are the first on scene. They assess the damage. They call for rescue squads if people are trapped. They set up cordons to keep civilians away from unexploded bombs or unstable structures. They administer first aid to the injured, applying tourniquets, bandaging wounds, trying to keep people alive until proper medical help arrives. The rescue squads are even more hardcore. These are heavy rescue service teams, equipped with tools and trained in the grim work of digging through rubble to find survivors. They arrive at a bombed building and start listening, tapping on pipes, calling out, waiting for a response from beneath the debris. When they hear something, the digging begins. It is slow, painstaking work. The rubble is unstable. One wrong move and it shifts, crushing whoever is trapped below or burying the rescuers. They use their hands as much as tools because tools can cause vibrations that bring everything down. They tunnel into the wreckage, shoring up passages with timber as they go. Sometimes they reach the trapped person and find them alive. Injured, terrified, but alive. They carefully extract them, passing them back through the tunnel to the surface. Cheers go up. A life saved. But often what they find is a body, or pieces of bodies. They recover what they can, gently, respectfully, because these were people. They had families. They deserve dignity in death. The firefighters face a special kind of hell. The auxiliary fire service is made up of volunteers, ordinary men and women who have been given minimal training and sent to fight fires that would challenge professional crews. They are running hoses from the Thames because the mains are ruptured. The pumps are old and unreliable. The pressure is low. The water is not reaching the upper floors where the fires are fiercest. They stand at the base of burning buildings, directing feeble streams of water at infernos that mock their efforts. The heat is incredible. It singes hair and eyebrows. It makes breathing painful. The smoke is blinding and choking, and all the while bombs are still falling. A firefighter can be killed by the next bomb while trying to put out the fire from the last one. Building collapses are common. Walls weakened by fire suddenly give way. Tons of brick and masonry crash down on firefighters below. Some are crushed instantly. Others are trapped under rubble. Drowning as water from their own hoses fills the space around them. The survivors dig frantically, but often they are too late. The psychological toll on these rescuers is enormous. They see things no one should see. Dismembered bodies, burned corpses, children killed in their beds. They work until they drop from exhaustion, sleep for a few hours, then go out and do it again. Night after night, trauma accumulates. Some break. They cannot do it anymore. They quit or they have mental breakdowns. But most keep going because the alternative, doing nothing while people die, is worse. And here is something rarely mentioned. These wardens and rescuers are civilians. They have day jobs. They have families. By day, they might be a shopkeeper, a clerk, a teacher. Then the sirens sound and they put on the helmet and become something else. A hero. But they do not feel like heroes. They feel tired and scared and overwhelmed. They are doing what needs to be done, nothing more. Chapter 11. The unexploded bombs. Now let us talk about a special kind of terror. The bombs that do not explode. It happens more often than you might think. A bomb hits the ground, buries itself deep, and fails to detonate. Maybe the fuse is faulty. Maybe it is a delayed action fuse, designed to go off hours or even days later to maximize chaos and tie up resources. Either way, you now have hundreds of pounds of high explosive sitting somewhere in your city, and nobody knows when or if it will go off. Unexploded bombs, UXBs, are marked with red flags or warning signs. Danger UXB. Do not enter. The area around them is evacuated. Entire streets, sometimes entire neighborhoods, cleared of residents. Thousands of people made homeless not because their houses are damaged, but because there is a live bomb buried nearby and nobody can go home until it is dealt with. This is where the bomb disposal squads come in. These are men with nerves of absolute steel and a fatalistic sense of humor. They are mostly Royal Engineers, but some are volunteers from other units. Their job is to locate the bomb, dig it out, and defuse it. Simple in theory, suicidal in practice. First, they have to find the bomb. Could be buried 20 feet down. Could be in soft earth or embedded in concrete. They dig carefully, using detectors and probes, because hitting the bomb with a shovel could set it off. When they locate it, they start excavating around it, creating a shaft to access it. Then comes the defusing. The bomb has a fuse screwed into the casing. Could be a standard impact fuse that failed to fire. Or it could be a delayed action fuse with a clockwork mechanism ticking away inside. Or it could be an anti-handling device designed to explode if anyone touches it. The only way to know is to examine it closely, which means getting very, very close to a device that could kill you at any second. If it is a standard fuse, the process is relatively straightforward. Use a special tool called a Crabtree discharger to unscrew the fuse. If it is stiff, apply penetrating oil and wait. If it still will not budge, you have a problem. Some bomb disposal officers use brute force, hitting the fuse with a hammer to shock it loose. This works. Sometimes. Other times, it detonates the bomb and the officer is vaporized. Delayed action fuses are worse. They have a clockwork mechanism and a trembler switch. Move the bomb and it goes off. So you cannot dig it out and take it somewhere safe. You have to defuse it in place. You drill a hole in the casing, insert a tool, and try to deactivate the mechanism. All while knowing that if you make one mistake, one tiny slip, you and everyone within 100 yards is dead. Anti-handling devices are the worst. These are designed specifically to kill bomb disposal officers. Moving the bomb sets them off. So does cutting into the casing in the wrong place. The Germans keep changing the designs, coming up with new mechanisms, new tricks. The British have to figure them out through trial and error. The error is fatal. The casualty rate among bomb disposal squads is horrific. In the first year of the war, they deal with over 12,000 UXBs. Hundreds of officers are killed or maimed. George Cross medals, the highest civilian award for bravery, are handed out liberally to bomb disposal crews, often posthumously. And here is the thing. While the bomb disposal officer is working, life goes on around him. People have to be evacuated. Traffic is diverted. Businesses lose days of operation. Every UXB is a small-scale disaster, tying up resources, spreading fear, disrupting the city. And there are hundreds of them, thousands across the whole country. Sometimes a bomb is too dangerous to defuse. The officer makes the call. Evacuate a wider area and blow it in place. Controlled detonation. Except it is not really controlled. The explosion destroys buildings, shatters windows, creates new craters. But it is better than letting it sit there indefinitely, a ticking time bomb in the literal sense. And sometimes the bomb wins. The officer is working on it and it goes off. There is a flash, a roar, and when the smoke clears, there is a crater where he was standing. His colleagues recover what they can of his body and move on to the next bomb. Because there is always a next bomb. Chapter 12. The rationing and shortages. Let us talk about trying to eat and live in a city that is being bombed into rubble and blockaded by submarines. Rationing starts in January 1940, but the Blitz makes everything worse. Your ration book is your lifeline. It has coupons for different types of food: meat, butter, sugar, tea, cheese, eggs, bacon. Each coupon is worth a specific amount, and once you have used them for the week, that is it. No more. You cannot buy extra even if you have the money. Here is what you get per week. 4 ounces of bacon or ham. That is about 4 slices. 2 ounces of butter. Tiny pat. 2 ounces of tea. 8 ounces of sugar. 1 fresh egg if you are lucky, though often it is dried egg powder instead. 2 ounces of cheese. A few ounces of sweets, if any are available. Meat is allocated by price, not weight. You get 1 shilling and 6 pence worth per week. That might be a small chop or a bit of sausage or some offal. Forget steak. Forget roast. You are eating scrag end of mutton and counting yourself fortunate. Bread is not rationed, not during the Blitz anyway, but the flour is stretched with other grains, making it heavy and dark. The national loaf, they call it. It is nutritious but unappetizing. Dense, grayish, tough to chew. You eat it because it is calories. Fresh fruit and vegetables are not rationed, but they are scarce. Imports are disrupted by the blockade. Shipping is dangerous. What does get through is expensive. Oranges become a rare treat. Bananas disappear entirely for the duration of the war. Children grow up never having tasted one. The government urges you to dig for victory. Turn your garden, your yard, even public parks into vegetable plots. Grow your own food. People do. They plant potatoes, carrots, cabbages, onions, anything that grows in British soil. But if you live in a flat with no garden, you are out of luck. And if the bombs destroy your plot, there goes your supplemental food source. Queuing becomes a national pastime. You hear a rumor that a shop has oranges or eggs or something rare. You drop everything and join the queue. You stand for hours, hoping the supply does not run out before you reach the counter. Sometimes it does. You have wasted your time, but you keep doing it because the alternative is going without. The Blitz makes it worse. Shops are bombed. Warehouses are destroyed. Entire stocks of food go up in flames. A direct hit on a warehouse in the docks might wipe out weeks' worth of rations for a neighborhood. And it is not like those goods can be easily replaced. They are gone. Transport is disrupted. Roads are cratered. Railways are damaged. Getting food from the countryside to the city becomes a logistical nightmare. Deliveries are late or do not arrive at all. Shops run out of stock. You go to buy your rations and the shopkeeper shrugs. Nothing today. Try tomorrow. Black market thrives. If you have money and the right connections, you can get almost anything. Meat, butter, sugar, cigarettes, stockings. But it is illegal and risky. If you are caught, you can be fined or jailed. But people do it anyway because desperation makes criminals of us all. Eating out is limited. Restaurants can only charge a maximum of 5 shillings for a meal, and they cannot serve more than 3 courses. Luxury ingredients are out of the question. You get whatever they can scrape together. Whale meat becomes common. It is gamey and oily, but it is protein. Horse meat too. And you do not ask too many questions about the sausages. Malnutrition becomes a real problem. You are not starving, not like people in besieged cities on the continent, but you are not getting enough. You are tired all the time. Your hair thins. Your skin develops sores that do not heal. Children do not grow as they should. The elderly waste away. And the bombed out, the homeless, they have it worst. They lose their ration books in the rubble. They have to apply for new ones, which takes time. They have no kitchen to cook in, no facilities. They rely on communal feeding centers, the British restaurants set up by the government. The food is basic but hot. Stew, potatoes, bread. Keeps them alive. Here is a bitter irony. You are more likely to die from malnutrition-related illness than from a direct bomb hit. The bombs kill tens of thousands. But the slow grind of inadequate food, poor sanitation, stress that kills more. Chapter 13. The propaganda and morale. Let us talk about what the government tells you versus what you are actually experiencing. The official line is that Britain is standing firm, that morale is high, that we are all in this together. Keep calm and carry on. The Blitz spirit. Cheerful Londoners refusing to be cowed. Some of it is true. There is resilience. There is community. People do help each other. When your neighbor's house is destroyed, you offer them a place to stay. When someone is dug out of the rubble, strangers cheer. There is a sense of shared suffering, of being in it together. But the propaganda glosses over the panic, the fear, the breakdown in morale that happens more often than the authorities want to admit. In the early days of the Blitz, there is real terror. People flee the city. Trains and buses out of London are packed. Some people walk. The government has to set up controls to stem the exodus. Looting is a serious problem. When a building is bombed, people pick through the wreckage looking for valuables. Sometimes it is the residents salvaging what they can. But often it is opportunists, thieves, stealing from the dead and the dispossessed. Jewelry, money, anything portable and valuable. The authorities crack down hard, but it keeps happening. There are reports of people refusing to leave the shelters even when the all-clear has sounded. They are too terrified to go back above ground. They want to stay underground permanently. In some shelters, there are near riots when the wardens try to clear people out. Mental breakdowns are common. People snap under the strain. They become hysterical, violent, catatonic. The psychiatric hospitals are full. There is a stigma around mental illness, so most people suffer in silence. They drink to cope. Alcoholism spikes. Domestic violence increases. The stress of the Blitz tears families apart. The government controls the news tightly. Casualties are downplayed. Damage is minimized. Defeats are spun as setbacks. Victories, even small ones, are trumpeted. The newspapers and the BBC present a version of events that is sanitized, optimistic, designed to keep morale up. You are not allowed to know how bad it really is. Photographers and journalists are restricted. They cannot show the worst of the damage, the worst of the casualties. Images are censored. Stories are spiked. The public sees pictures of bombed buildings, yes, but they are carefully chosen. They show damage, but not devastation. Resilience, but not despair. The government fears panic. They fear that if people knew the true extent of the casualties, the true scale of the destruction, they would lose the will to fight. So they lie, or they omit, or they spin. And you, the civilian, are living through this hell. But the official narrative says you are coping splendidly. Propaganda posters are everywhere. Keep calm and carry on. Your courage will bring us victory. Careless talk costs lives. They are meant to inspire, to reassure, to remind you of your duty. But when you are huddled in a freezing shelter listening to bombs fall, they feel hollow, patronizing. The Ministry of Information runs campaigns to boost morale. Films, radio programs, posters. They show plucky Londoners laughing in the face of adversity. They show the royal family visiting bomb sites, talking to survivors, showing solidarity. And that part is true. The King and Queen do visit. They see the damage. Their own home, Buckingham Palace, is bombed. They refuse to leave London. That means something. It genuinely does boost morale. But the gap between the propaganda and the reality is wide. The propaganda says the British people are united, stoic, unbreakable. The reality is that you are exhausted, terrified, and desperate for it to end. You are doing what you have to do to survive, not because you are heroic, but because you have no choice. There is resentment. Why are the wealthy areas less affected? Why do the East End and the working-class neighborhoods take the worst of it while Mayfair and Belgravia are relatively unscathed? It is not entirely true. Bombs fall everywhere, but the perception is there. The perception that this is a class war as much as a world war. And then there is the anger at the government for not doing more. Why are the shelters so inadequate? Why is the anti-aircraft defense so weak? Why are the bombers getting through night after night? You want answers. You want someone to blame. But there is no one to blame except the Germans, and they are out of reach. Chapter 14. The Anti-Aircraft Guns. Let us talk about the guns that are supposed to protect you. The anti-aircraft batteries that boom and flash all night, filling the sky with shrapnel and noise but rarely hitting anything. The The sound of the guns is constant during a raid. A deep, rhythmic boom. Boom, boom, boom. They are heavy guns, 3.7-inch caliber mostly, firing shells that climb miles into the night sky before exploding. The shells have timed fuses. They detonate at a set altitude, creating a burst of shrapnel that is supposed to hit the bombers. Does it work? Occasionally. Very occasionally. The hit rate in the early days of the Blitz is abysmal. Less than one bomber shot down for every 1,000 shells fired. The bombers are flying at high altitude, maybe 15,000 to 20,000 feet. They are moving fast. And it is night. Pitch black. The gunners are aiming at sounds, at vague shapes glimpsed in searchlight beams, at hope. But here is the thing. It does not matter that they are not hitting much. The guns are there for morale as much as for defense. Hearing them fire makes you feel like something is being done, like you are fighting back. When the government briefly orders the guns to cease fire to see if it reduces civilian casualties from falling shrapnel, the outcry is immediate. People demand the guns keep firing. They would rather risk death from falling shrapnel than feel defenseless. And the shrapnel is a real danger. What goes up must come down. Every shell that explodes in the sky sends jagged fragments of metal raining back to Earth. Some pieces are tiny. Some are fist-sized chunks of steel traveling at terminal velocity. They punch through roofs. They embed in the street. They kill people. There are nights when more civilians die from anti-aircraft shrapnel than from German bombs. You learn to recognize the sound of shrapnel falling. A whistling, tinkling noise, like deadly rain. When you hear it, you take cover. You huddle against walls, under doorways, anywhere with something over your head. People caught in the open are killed. A piece of shrapnel through the skull, through the chest. No warning, just sudden death. The searchlights work with the guns, sweeping the sky trying to illuminate the bombers. When they catch one in the beam, the other searchlights converge, creating a cone of light around the aircraft. The guns concentrate their fire. Sometimes the bomber escapes, diving or climbing out of the beams. Sometimes it does not. Sometimes you see it hit, trailing fire, plummeting. And then the cheers. People pour out of shelters, pointing, celebrating. A bomber down. A small victory. But the bombers keep coming. Hundreds of them. The guns cannot stop them all. They cannot stop most of them. The bombers fly above the effective ceiling of the guns. They drop their bombs from such a height that by the time the shells reach them, they are gone. It is a numbers game, and the numbers are not in your favor. Barrage balloons are another defensive measure. These are large hydrogen-filled balloons tethered by steel cables, floating hundreds of feet above the city. The idea is that bombers will not dare fly low for fear of hitting the cables and being brought down. It works to an extent. The bombers stay high, but that also makes them harder to hit with the guns and does not prevent them from dropping bombs. The balloons are everywhere, bobbing in the sky like surreal silver fish. When the weather is bad, they break loose and drift away, trailing their cables. The cables wrap around power lines, causing blackouts. They hit buildings. One cable slices through a bus, killing passengers. The balloons are supposed to protect you, but they are also hazards. Night fighters are deployed, RAF pilots flying Hurricanes and Blenheims, trying to intercept the bombers in the dark. It is nearly impossible. They cannot see the bombers. They have no radar. They are flying blind, hoping to stumble across the enemy. Most nights, they find nothing. When they do find a bomber, the kill is celebrated as a major achievement. Later, radar improves. Ground controllers can vector the night fighters towards the bombers. The hit rate goes up. But that is later. In the early months of the Blitz, you are largely defenseless. The guns fire, the searchlights sweep, the fighters patrol, but the bombs still fall. And you, the civilian, you watch all this. You see the fireworks display in the sky. You hear the guns roaring. You watch the searchlights crisscrossing. And you know it is mostly for show. The real protection is the shelter you are huddled in and luck. Mostly luck. Chapter 15. The direct hit. Now let us talk about what happens when your shelter takes a direct hit. Because it does happen. The odds are against it on any given night. Thousands of shelters, only so many bombs. But over 57 consecutive nights, over months of raids, the odds catch up. You are in the shelter. It is crowded, uncomfortable, cold. The usual. You hear the bombs falling. Close, closer, and then the one with your name on it. There is no warning, no time to react. The bomb crashes through whatever is above you. Concrete, earth, steel, it does not matter. The bomb goes through, and then it detonates. The explosion inside a confined space is exponentially worse than in the open. The blast wave has nowhere to go. It ricochets off the walls, doubling and tripling in force. The overpressure is immense. Lungs rupture, eardrums burst, organs liquefy. People are killed by the blast alone without a visible mark on them. Then there is the shrapnel. The bomb casing fragments into thousands of pieces, screaming outward at supersonic speed. They shred everything. Flesh, bone, concrete, metal. People are decapitated, dismembered, eviscerated. The walls are painted with blood and tissue. The structure collapses. The ceiling comes down. Tons of rubble bury everyone inside. If the blast did not kill you, the crushing weight does. You are pinned, unable to move, unable to breathe. Dust fills your lungs. You choke. You suffocate. And there is no one to help you because everyone else is dead or dying too. Sometimes there are survivors. People shielded by the bodies of others. People in a corner where the structure held just long enough. They are buried alive. They can hear the world above, muffled and distant. They scream for help. They pound on the rubble. But they are deep under, and the rescue teams might not reach them in time. The rescuers dig. They call out. They listen. Sometimes they hear a response. Sometimes they reach the survivor in time, pull them out, injured but alive. A miracle. But often they dig for hours only to find bodies. Or they find someone still alive, but so badly injured that they die during the extraction. Or they find someone trapped in a position where any attempt to free them will cause the remaining structure to collapse, killing them and the rescuers. They have to make a choice. Leave them to die slowly or risk more lives trying to save them. Some direct hits are worse than others. Bank Station, January 11th, 1941. A bomb penetrates the roadway and detonates in the booking hall. 57 people killed instantly. The ticket hall becomes a tomb. Balham Station, October 14th, 1940. A bomb hits the road above, rupturing water and sewage mains. The station floods. 68 people drown or are crushed in the panic trying to escape. Bethnal Green, March 3rd, 1943. Not technically the Blitz, but worth mentioning. A panic in the crowd trying to get into the shelter causes a crush on the stairs. 173 people trampled to death. The largest civilian loss of life in a single incident in Britain during the war. If you are in a shelter when it takes a hit, your chances depend on pure luck. Where you were sitting, how the bomb entered, how the structure failed. Were you near the entrance where you might be blown clear? Or deep inside where you are buried under the most rubble? Did a beam fall and create a pocket of space around you? Or did the ceiling come straight down? And if you survive, the trauma is profound. You were in a place that was supposed to keep you safe, and it failed. Every shelter after that, you cannot help but think, what if this one is next? You flinch at every near miss. You cannot relax. You cannot sleep. The fear never leaves. Chapter 16. The exhaustion. Let us talk about what months of this does to your body and mind. The grinding, relentless exhaustion. You are not sleeping. Not properly. A few fitful hours in the shelter, waking every time a bomb falls close. Or maybe you are one of those people who tries to sleep in your own bed and just hopes for the best. Either way, you are not getting the rest you need. Your body is screaming for it, but your mind will not shut off. You lie there, tense, waiting for the sirens. Chronic sleep deprivation does terrible things to you. Your thinking becomes foggy. You make mistakes at work. Simple tasks take forever. You forget things, important things. Did you turn off the gas? Did you lock the door? You cannot remember. Your short-term memory is shot. Your reflexes slow. You are clumsy. You drop things. You walk into walls. If you are operating machinery at work, this is dangerous. Accidents happen. People lose fingers, hands, get crushed. The fatigue is killing workers as surely as the bombs. Your immune system crashes. You catch every cold, every flu that goes around. And they hit you harder because your body has no reserves left. You are sick more often than you are healthy. You drag yourself to work anyway because there is no choice. The country needs you. Your mood deteriorates. You are irritable, snapping at your spouse, your children, your coworkers. Little things that you would normally shrug off become intolerable. Someone chews too loud. Someone breathes too loud. You want to scream. Sometimes you do. And then you feel guilty because it is not their fault. Everyone is going through this. Depression sets in. A gray, heavy feeling that never lifts. What is the point of anything? You are going to die anyway. Your house is going to be destroyed anyway. Why bother? Why keep trying? You go through the motions of living, but there is no joy in it. No hope, just endurance. Anxiety is constant. Your heart races. Your hands shake. You startle at every loud noise. A door slams and you jump. A car backfires and you hit the ground. You are always on edge, always waiting for the next raid, the next bomb. It is like living with a low-grade electric current running through you all the time. Stress-related illnesses spike. Ulcers, heart problems, strokes, people in their 40s having heart attacks. The stress is literally killing them. And the doctors can do little. There is no treatment for this. Just keep going. Keep enduring. Relationships suffer. Marriages crack under the strain. Couples who have been together for decades suddenly cannot stand each other. The constant stress brings every resentment, every buried issue to the surface. Arguments become fights. Fights become violence. Divorces would go up if people had the time and energy to pursue them, but they do not. So they just stay together miserable. Children are traumatized. They act out. They become aggressive or withdrawn. They stop speaking. They regress, wetting the bed, sucking their thumbs. And the parents, exhausted and stressed, do not have the emotional bandwidth to deal with it properly. They snap at the children, which makes it worse. The guilt compounds the stress. Some people cope by shutting down emotionally. They go numb. They stop feeling anything. Fear, joy, sadness, it all fades to gray. They function, but they are not really living. They are surviving, just surviving. And that is all they can manage. Others cope by throwing themselves into work. They volunteer for extra shifts. They join the Home Guard, the ARP, the Fire Brigade. Anything to stay busy. Because if they stop, if they have time to think, the fear rushes in. So they work until they collapse. And then they wake up and do it again. And through it all, there is no end in sight. Week after week, month after month, the blitz goes on. How long can you endure this? How long before you break? Everyone has a limit. Some reach it sooner than others. But everyone gets there eventually. Chapter 17. The mythology versus the reality. Let us talk about the stories you will hear decades later. The legend of the Blitz spirit. The idea that Londoners faced the bombing with cheerful stoicism, unbreakable morale, and a sense of unity that transcended class and background. How much of that is true? Some of it. There are genuine acts of heroism and kindness. Neighbors helping neighbors. Strangers rescuing strangers from the rubble. Communities coming together to support each other. That happened. It is real. The image of people singing in the underground shelters, keeping their spirits up, that is based on truth. But it is not the whole truth. It is a sanitized version. A myth created during the war for propaganda purposes and then reinforced after the war because it is a comforting story. It makes the suffering meaningful. It makes you feel like it was not for nothing. The reality is messier. There is heroism, yes, but there is also cowardice. There is compassion, but there is also cruelty. There is unity, but there is also division. Looting happens. Extensively. People steal from bombed houses. They rob the dead. They take advantage of chaos to enrich themselves. This is not talked about in the legend. It is too uncomfortable. It does not fit the narrative. Panic happens. People run screaming from shelters. They stampede. They trample each other in the rush to safety. There are documented cases of men pushing women and children aside to get into a shelter first. That is not the stiff upper lip. That is raw survival instinct. Class tensions persist. The East End takes the worst of the bombing because that is where the docks and industry are. Working-class neighborhoods are devastated. Meanwhile, wealthier areas in the West are less affected. There is resentment. There is anger. The idea that everyone is in it together is a nice sentiment, but the reality is that some are in it much worse than others. The government hides the true scale of casualties and damage. They do not want people to know how bad it is. They censor photographs. They control the narrative. So the public does not fully understand what is happening. And the myth is built on that foundation of controlled information. After the war, the myth grows. Films and books and television programs present the Blitz as a time of national unity and resilience. The King's Speech, Hope and Glory, Mrs. Miniver, they emphasize the positive, the heroism, the community, the stiff upper lip. They downplay or ignore the fear, the panic, the breakdown. And why not? People need heroes. They need to believe that, in the darkest times, humanity rises to the challenge. And many did. Many people were brave and selfless and kind, but many others were not. And that is okay. That is human. Terror makes people do irrational things. Desperation makes them selfish. That does not make them bad people. It makes them people. The Blitz spirit is real in the sense that it existed as an aspiration. The government told people to keep calm and carry on, and many tried. They put on a brave face. They went to work. They took care of their families. They did not give up. That takes courage. Real, everyday courage. Not the dramatic kind. Just the grinding determination to keep going. But the Blitz spirit is not real in the sense that it was universal or that it meant everyone was cheerful and unafraid. People were terrified. They were exhausted. They were at the end of their rope. And they kept going anyway, not because they were naturally stoic or brave, but because what else could they do? Giving up meant dying. So they did not give up. The myth is useful. It is inspiring. It reminds you that people can endure almost anything if they have to. But it is also dishonest. It erases the complexity of the experience. It turns real people with real flaws and fears into cardboard cutouts of heroism. If you want to understand the Blitz, you have to hold both truths. People were brave and people were terrified. They helped each other and they exploited each other. They sang in the shelters and they sobbed in the darkness. They were human, complicated, contradictory, struggling, and they survived. That is the real story. Chapter 18. The Quiet Nights. Let us talk about something strange. The nights when the bombers do not come. It happens occasionally. Bad weather over the Channel grounds the Luftwaffe. Or they are busy elsewhere. Or they are regrouping. Whatever the reason, there are nights when the sirens do not sound. No bombs. No guns. Just silence. You should be relieved. This is what you have been praying for. A night of peace. A chance to sleep in your own bed, undisturbed. But it does not work that way. The first few hours you are on edge. You keep waiting for the sirens. They must be coming. They always come. You lie in bed, tense, listening. Every distant sound makes you flinch. Is that aircraft? Was that a siren starting up? You cannot relax. As the night wears on and nothing happens, a different kind of anxiety sets in. Why is it quiet? What are they planning? Is this the calm before a massive raid? Your imagination runs wild. Maybe they are saving up for something big. Maybe tomorrow night will be the worst yet. You cannot sleep. Even though there is no immediate danger, your body will not let you rest. You have been conditioned by weeks or months of terror. Sleep is associated with the shelter, with discomfort, with fear. Your own bed feels wrong now. Too exposed. Too vulnerable. You actually miss the cramped, miserable shelter because at least there you felt like you had some protection. Some people cannot stay in their houses on quiet nights. They go to the shelter anyway, just in case. Better safe than sorry. They lie on the hard benches, listening to the silence, feeling foolish but unable to do anything else. Children are especially affected. They have become so used to the routine. Sirens, shelter, all clear, emerge. When that routine is broken, they do not know how to react. They ask where the bombs are. Why are we not going to the shelter? Some refuse to go to bed. They insist on sleeping in the shelter even when there is no raid. The quiet nights also bring a crushing realization. This is going to happen again. The silence is temporary. Tomorrow or the next night or the night after that, the bombers will return. This is not over. It will never be over. You are just in a brief lull. The dread of future raids fills the space left by the absence of current ones. And then there is the guilt. While you are enjoying a quiet night, other cities are being bombed. Coventry, Birmingham, Liverpool, Plymouth. The Luftwaffe is spreading its attention. You are safe tonight because someone else is suffering. That knowledge sits heavy on you. When the next raid finally comes, there is almost a sense of relief. The waiting is over. The thing you have been dreading has arrived. You fall back into the routine. Sirens, shelter, bombs, all clear. It is familiar. Horrible but familiar. And there is a strange comfort in that. The quiet nights also highlight how much you have changed. Before the war, a quiet night was normal. Now it is an anomaly. Your baseline has shifted. Fear and danger are the new normal. Peace is the exception. And you realize with a sinking feeling that you might never be able to shift back. Even when the war ends, even when the bombs stop permanently, you might never feel safe again. Chapter 19. The End of the Blitz. So we come to May 1941. The sustained blitz on London is ending. Not because the British have won some great victory. Not because the defenses have suddenly become effective. But because Hitler is turning his attention east. Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, is coming. The Luftwaffe is needed elsewhere. The last major raid on London is the night of May 10th and 11th. It is one of the worst. Over 500 bombers drop, 700 tons of high explosive and thousands of incendiaries. The Houses of Parliament are hit. Westminster Abbey is damaged. The British Museum is struck. Fires rage across the city. 1,400 people are killed in a single night. More than 1,800 are seriously injured. And then silence. The raids do not stop completely. There are still sporadic attacks over the following months. But the sustained, nightly bombardment is over. The Blitz, as a distinct phase of the war, is done. You do not know this at first. How could you? A few nights pass without raids. You think it is just another lull. But the nights keep passing. A week, 2 weeks, a month. And slowly, tentatively, you start to believe that maybe it is really over. The relief is overwhelming. You have survived. Against all odds, you are still alive. Your family is intact or mostly intact. You have lost people, everyone has, but you are here. That is something. But the relief is complicated by grief and trauma. The city is in ruins. Entire neighborhoods are gone. 43,000 civilians dead across the country. About 20,000 of them in London. 139,000 injured. Over 1 million houses destroyed or damaged. The scars are everywhere. Physical scars in the landscape. Psychological scars in the people. You try to return to normal, but what is normal? Your old life is gone. The house you lived in might be rubble. The job you had might not exist anymore. The friends and neighbors you knew might be dead or scattered. You are starting over and you do not have the energy for it. Sleep does not come easily even now. You still wake at the slightest sound. You still tense when you hear aircraft, even though they are friendly. The fear has been imprinted so deeply that it does not just disappear when the threat ends. The children are changed. Some have become tough, resilient, prematurely aged. They have seen things no child should see. They have lost their innocence. Others are fragile, broken, unable to function. They will carry the trauma for the rest of their lives. The city itself is changed. London in 1941 is a different place than London in 1940. There are gaps in the streets where buildings used to be. Temporary structures and prefabs fill some of the space. Bomb sites are cleared, turned into car parks or left as wastelands. It will take decades to rebuild. Some sites are never rebuilt. They remain as memorials, reminders. But life goes on. The war goes on. The threat shifts. V-weapons, the V-1 flying bombs and V-2 rockets will come later. But for now, you have a respite. You can breathe. You can sleep in your own bed, or what is left of it. You can walk the streets at night without fear of falling bombs. You are grateful. Deeply, profoundly grateful. You have survived something that should have killed you. The odds were against you and you beat them. Not through skill or planning, but through sheer dumb luck. And you know it. The experience has changed you. You will never be the person you were before the Blitz. You are harder, more cynical, less trusting, but also more appreciative. You do not take safety for granted. You do not take life for granted. Every day is a gift. And you remember. You will remember for the rest of your life. The sound of the sirens. The whistle of the bombs. The smell of smoke and burning. The taste of fear. The faces of the people who did not make it. You will remember, and you will tell your children and grandchildren. And they will struggle to understand, because how can you explain something like this to someone who has never lived it? Chapter 20. The Legacy. So here we are, decades later. The London Blitz is history now. The survivors are old or gone. The physical scars on the city have mostly healed, though some remain. But the psychological scars, the cultural scars, those run deep. The Blitz defined a generation. Everyone who lived through it was marked by it. It became a touchstone, a shared experience that shaped identity. To have been there, to have endured it, meant something. It was a badge of honor, a source of pride, and also a source of pain. The myth of the Blitz spirit, as we discussed, took on a life of its own. It became a narrative that Britain tells itself. A story of resilience and unity in the face of adversity. Politicians invoke it. Historians debate it. And the people who actually lived through it have complicated feelings about it. Some embrace the myth. It gives meaning to their suffering. Others resent it. It simplifies and sanitizes what was actually a complex and traumatic experience. The physical legacy is everywhere if you know where to look. Buildings with patched brickwork where bomb damage was repaired. Plaques marking where shelters once stood. The gaps in the streetscape where buildings were destroyed and never replaced. The architecture of the 1950s and 60s that filled in the bomb sites with modernist blocks that now look dated and ugly. The underground still has its wartime markings in some stations. The curving platforms where people slept. The signs directing to shelters. They are historical curiosities now, but they were life and death then. The psychological legacy is harder to quantify but no less real. The generation that went through the Blitz raised children in the shadow of that experience. They were overprotective or they were emotionally distant. They had survived something unimaginable and they could not talk about it, or they could not stop talking about it. Either way, it affected how they parented. Post-traumatic stress, though it was not called that, was rampant. Alcoholism, depression, anxiety disorders, suicides. The mental health toll of the Blitz extended for decades after the last bomb fell. And the resources to treat it were minimal. You were expected to just get on with it. Keep calm and carry on, even when you were falling apart inside. The Blitz also changed London's relationship with itself. Before, the city was stratified by class. The East End was poor and industrial. The West End was wealthy and cultured. The bombing did not erase those divisions, but it did create a sense of shared suffering that had not existed before. Everyone was a target. Everyone was vulnerable. That commonality mattered. It also changed Britain's relationship with war. Before World War II, war was something that happened elsewhere. Soldiers went off to fight. Civilians stayed home, safe. The Blitz shattered that. There was no safe home front. Civilians were targets. Women and children were killed in their beds. War was no longer an abstract concept. It was visceral and immediate and terrifying. This changed how Britain approached future conflicts. The fear of bombing, of nuclear attack, shaped Cold War policy. The civil defense plans, the bunkers, the obsession with fallout shelters. All of that was rooted in the experience of the Blitz. the knowledge that war could come to you in your home without warning. And on a more personal level, the Blitz taught people about fragility. How quickly safety can be stripped away. How thin the veneer of civilization really is. You can lose everything in an instant. Your home, your family, your life. One bomb, one moment of bad luck, and it is all gone. That knowledge is heavy. It makes some people fatalistic. Why plan for the future when it can be destroyed so easily? It makes others more determined. To build, to create, to leave something behind. To make the suffering mean something. The stories of the Blitz have been told and retold. In books, films, documentaries. Some accurate, some romanticized. Some focus on the heroism, others on the horror. All of them are trying to make sense of an experience that defies sense. And what is the lesson? What are we supposed to take from this? That people can endure almost anything? True, but at what cost? That war is hell? We knew that already. That the home front is as dangerous as the battlefield. The Blitz proved it, but do we remember? Maybe the real lesson is simpler. That ordinary people, faced with extraordinary circumstances, do what they have to do to survive. They are not heroes. They are not saints. They are just people. Scared, exhausted, desperate, but they keep going. Because the alternative is unthinkable. The London Blitz was 57 nights of sustained bombing, followed by months of intermittent attacks. Killed over 40,000 people. It destroyed or damaged over 1 million buildings. It traumatized an entire city. And through it all, people got up every morning, went to work, took care of their families, and prepared to do it all again that night. That is not heroism. That is just life. Messy, complicated, painful life. And maybe that is the most important thing to remember. The people of the Blitz were not characters in a story. They were real. They suffered. They endured. And they deserve to be remembered as they were, not as the myth says they should have been. Chapter 20. The Pets and Animals. Let us talk about something that breaks your heart in ways you did not expect. The animals. Your pets. The creatures that depend on you and cannot understand what is happening. Dogs and cats are everywhere in London. Family pets. Companions. They are part of the household. And then the war starts and suddenly they are a problem. The government advice is stark. Destroy your pets. They will suffer in the bombing. They will be a burden. Food is scarce. You cannot spare rations for animals. So put them down. And people do. In the first few days of September 1939, before the Blitz even starts, over 750,000 pets are killed. 750,000. Owners take their beloved cats and dogs to veterinarians. The vets work around the clock, euthanizing healthy animals. The incinerators cannot keep up. Bodies are buried in mass graves. Parks are turned into pet cemeteries. You stand in line with your dog. He is wagging his tail, happy to be out. He trusts you completely. You hand him over to the vet. You hear the whimper, then silence. You walk away with an empty leash and a hole in your chest. You did what the government told you to do, the sensible thing, the practical thing, but it feels like murder. Some people refuse. They keep their pets despite the advice, despite the difficulties, and those animals become anchors, sources of comfort in the chaos. Your cat curls up with you in the shelter. Her purring is soothing, a reminder of normalcy. Your dog lies at your feet. His presence is reassuring. You are responsible for something other than yourself. You have to keep going because he needs you. But keeping pets during the Blitz is hard. Food is rationed. There are no rations for animals. You share yours. You give your dog scraps from your already meager meals. You go hungrier so he can eat. Is it foolish? Probably. But he is family. You cannot just abandon him. The air raids terrify animals. Dogs hear the bombers before you do. Their superior hearing picks up the drone of engines while you are still oblivious. They start whining, pacing, trembling. Cats hide. They wedge themselves into impossible spaces. Under furniture. In cupboards. You have to drag them out when the sirens sound. They fight you. Claws and teeth. They do not understand you are trying to save them. In the shelter, animals panic. Dogs bark, howl. Their distress adds to the noise and chaos. Other people in the shelter complain. Your dog is making it worse. Can you keep him quiet? You try. You hold him. Speak softly. But he is terrified. He knows danger is coming and every instinct says run. But there is nowhere to run. Cats in shelters are a nightmare. They do not settle. They pace. They yowl. They try to escape. You have to keep them in a box or a bag. They hate it. They claw at the sides. The sounds they make are pitiful. You feel like a torturer. But if you let them out, they will bolt. Get lost in the chaos. You will never find them again. Some pets die in the bombing. Your house takes a hit while you are at the shelter. You come back to find your cat buried in the rubble, dead or dying. You dig with your bare hands. You find her. She is broken, suffering. You have to make a choice. End her suffering yourself or find a vet. There are no vets. They are overwhelmed with human casualties. So you do what you have to do, and you hate yourself for it. Dogs are killed by shrapnel, by blast waves, by collapsing buildings. You find them in the street, whimpering, injured, no one to help them. Resources are for humans. The animals suffer. Some kind souls try to help. Improvised animal shelters. Volunteers who feed strays. But it is not enough. The suffering is everywhere. Working animals have it different. Horses are still used. For milk delivery. For hauling. They panic during raids. Bolt from their harnesses. Run wild through the streets. Some are hit by bombs. Others break legs stumbling through rubble. They have to be destroyed. A bullet to the head. One more casualty of war. Police dogs. Guard dogs. They are working through the raids too. Searching rubble for survivors. Their keen noses detect people buried deep. They save lives. But they are also traumatized. Dogs are not meant for this. The sounds. The smells. The death. Some refuse to work. They shut down. Others become aggressive. Shell-shocked like the humans around them. Zoo animals present unique problems. London Zoo in Regent's Park. Home to lions, elephants, venomous snakes. What do you do with them during air raids? You cannot evacuate a lion. The dangerous animals are destroyed preemptively, just in case. If the zoo takes a hit and a lion escapes into bomb-damaged London, the consequences are unthinkable. So they are killed. Healthy, valuable animals. Casualties before the first bomb falls. The elephants stay. Too big to move. Too valuable to kill. They survive the Blitz. The aquarium is destroyed. Fish die when the tanks shatter. Penguins waddle through the wreckage. It would be comical if it were not so sad. Livestock in the city suffers too. People keep chickens for eggs. Rabbits for meat. These animals are food security. But bombing kills them. Destroys their hutches. You lose your chickens in a raid. Now you have no eggs. One more source of food gone. Carrier pigeons are heroes. Used for communications. They fly through the bombing. Through anti-aircraft fire. Delivering messages. Some are killed. Shot down. Lost. But many make it. They save lives. Carrying crucial information. After the war, some receive medals. The Dickin Medal. The Animal Victoria Cross. Recognition for their service. Wild animals adapt in strange ways. Rats thrive. They always do in destruction. They feast on corpses. On scattered food. The rat population explodes. They are everywhere. Bold. Aggressive. Plague. Foxes move into the city. Scavenging in the ruins. The ecosystem shifts. Birds are affected. The constant explosions. The fires. The smoke. Some species leave. Others adapt. Pigeons remain. Unflappable. They nest in the ruins. Life continues. Sparrows too. Their chirping in the morning becomes a symbol. If the birds are still singing, there is still hope. And then there are the stories. The dog who stayed by his dead owner's body for days, refusing to leave. The cat who walked miles through bomb streets to find her family. Animals showing loyalty and love in ways that humble you. These stories spread. They are retold. They become legends. Because people need to believe that loyalty and love persist. Even in war, even in hell, your pet becomes more important than you ever imagined. That cat curled in your lap, that dog sleeping at your feet. They are comfort. They are routine. They are a reason to keep going. You feed them first. Even when you are hungry, you protect them, even at risk to yourself, because they depend on you. And in a world where you control nothing, that matters. Chapter 21. The Looters and Criminals. Now let us talk about the dark side of humanity. The people who see disaster as opportunity. The looters, the thieves, the criminals who prey on the bombed and the dead. Looting starts almost immediately. A building is hit. The residents are dead or evacuated. And within hours, sometimes minutes, the scavengers arrive. They pick through the rubble looking for valuables. Jewelry, money, anything portable and worth selling. They work brazenly, sometimes while rescue workers are still digging for survivors. You come back to your bombed house. Your home is destroyed. Everything you own is in that pile of bricks, and you find people sifting through it, stealing, taking your possessions, your memories. You confront them and they run. Or worse, they threaten you. This is a war zone. There are no police around. They can do what they want. The police are overwhelmed. There are not enough of them. They are dealing with air raids, with traffic control, with dead bodies. Petty theft is low priority. The looters know this. They operate with impunity, brazenly. Some even wear ARP helmets and armbands. Disguised as officials, they tell people to evacuate. Then they rob the empty houses. Some looters are professionals, career criminals taking advantage of chaos. They have networks, fences who buy stolen goods. They are organized, efficient. They know what to look for. They work in teams. One keeps watch. Others grab the loot. They are in and out in minutes. But many are ordinary people, desperate people. You have lost everything. Your home, your job, your family. You need money, need food. You see an opportunity and you take it. You tell yourself it is not really stealing. The owners are dead. The stuff would just go to waste. You are not a bad person. You are just trying to survive. But you are still a thief. The moral lines blur. Is it looting if you take food from a destroyed shop? The food will rot anyway. You are starving. Your children are starving. You take a tin of meat, a loaf of bread. Are you a criminal? Technically, yes. But morally, it is complicated. Violence accompanies looting. Looters attack people, rob them directly. You are pulled from the rubble, injured, dazed, and someone is going through your pockets, taking your wallet, your wedding ring. You are too weak to resist. The rescuers chase them off, but the damage is done. You survive the bombing only to be robbed while helpless. Dead bodies are robbed. This is the lowest, the most depraved. A corpse is pulled from the wreckage. The looter is there before the body is even covered, stripping rings off fingers, going through pockets, taking watches. The dead cannot protest, cannot identify their attackers. It is easy and utterly vile. The authorities crack down when they can. Looters are arrested, tried. The sentences are harsh. Prison, hard labor. The courts are trying to make examples, deter others, but it does not really work. The opportunities are too numerous, the oversight too limited. For every looter caught, a dozen operate freely. Some looters are caught red-handed in terrible circumstances, trapped in a building they are robbing when it collapses further, or caught in a blast while stealing. They become casualties themselves, buried in the rubble they were plundering. No one mourns them. No one tries very hard to rescue them. Let them rot. They deserve it. Black market thrives alongside looting. Stolen goods are sold. Rationed items appear for sale at inflated prices. You need butter. You have not seen butter in weeks. Someone offers to sell you some. No ration coupons needed. You know it is stolen. Or black market, but you buy it anyway. Your children need to eat. You become complicit. Corruption infects the system. Officials take bribes. Look the other way. Some are actively involved in black market operations. They have access to rations, to supplies. They divert them, sell them for profit. The people who are supposed to help you are stealing from you. Gangs operate in bombed areas. They control territories, extort protection money from survivors. Pay us or we will make sure your temporary shelter burns down. Pay us or your relief supplies disappear. People pay. They have no choice. The police cannot protect everyone. Fraudsters exploit the chaos. Fake charities spring up, collecting donations for bomb victims. The money goes into private pockets. Fake officials demand payment for shelter spaces, for ration cards, for documents. You do not know who to trust. Everyone might be a criminal. Evacuated homes are targeted systematically. You send your children to the countryside. Your house sits empty. You come back to visit and find it has been cleaned out. Furniture gone. Valuables gone. Even the copper pipes have been ripped out of the walls. Your home is a shell. You have been robbed blind. Women are particularly vulnerable. Widows. Women alone. The criminals know they are easy targets. They force their way in, threaten, steal, sometimes worse. Rape is underreported, but it happens. Women who have already lost everything are victimized again. And there is little justice, little protection. Some resistance emerges. Neighborhood watch groups, vigilantes. They catch a looter and deliver their own justice. Beatings. Worse, the authorities disapprove, but they do not try too hard to stop it. Unofficial justice fills the gap where official justice cannot reach. And here is the terrible truth. Some looters are victims too. A man steals to feed his family. Is he evil? A woman takes clothes from a destroyed shop because hers were burned. Is she a criminal? The war has created impossible situations. Moral clarity evaporates. Everyone is just trying to survive. But then there are the pure predators. The ones who enjoy it, who thrive on chaos, who rob the dying and feel nothing. They are monsters, and they walk among you, wearing ordinary faces. You cannot tell who they are until it is too late. Trust dies. You look at your neighbor with suspicion. Was he in your house? Did she take your things? Everyone is a potential thief. Everyone is suspect. The community bonds that might have held you together are corroded by fear and suspicion. The psychological impact is profound. You survive the bombing. That is traumatic enough. But then you are robbed, violated in a different way. Compounds the trauma. The bombs are impersonal. The looters are not. They chose to hurt you, chose to steal from you when you were at your most vulnerable. That betrayal cuts deep. Chapter 22. The gas masks. Let us talk about the thing you carry everywhere. The thing you hate. The gas mask. Everyone has one. Issued at the start of the war. Adults get the standard civilian gas mask. Children get smaller versions in bright colors to make them less frightening. Babies get special masks. Horrifying contraptions that encase the entire infant. You have to pump air into it manually. Your baby is sealed in a box and you are pumping a bellows. It looks like torture. The gas mask comes in a cardboard box with a string to carry it over your shoulder. That box becomes part of your daily outfit. You take it everywhere. To work, to the shops, to the shelter. The government is very clear. Gas attacks are expected. Mustard gas, chlorine. The horrors of World War I could return at any moment. You must have your mask. The problem is, the gas attacks never come. The Germans do not use gas. So you are carrying this thing every single day for no reason. It is bulky. It is awkward. It gets in the way. The cardboard box falls apart from constant use. You replace it with a tin container if you can afford one. Anything more durable. But you do not dare leave it at home. There are inspections. ARP wardens stop you on the street. Where is your gas mask? You do not have it? You get a lecture. A fine if they are feeling strict. The law says you must carry it. So you do, even though you resent it. Let us talk about what it is like to wear one. The mask is made of rubber. It smells terrible, like rubber and chemicals and sweat. The smell never goes away no matter how much you try to clean it. You put it on and immediately that smell fills your nostrils. Overwhelming, nauseating. The fit is tight. It has to be or gas will get in. But tight means uncomfortable. The rubber presses against your face. Hard. It leaves marks. Red welts on your cheeks and forehead. Your skin gets irritated. Rashes develop where the rubber rubs. The eyepieces are small plastic windows. Your vision is restricted. Peripheral vision is gone. You have to turn your head to see to the sides. The plastic clouds up quickly. Your breath fogs it from the inside. Moisture accumulates. You cannot see properly. You fumble. You trip. Breathing is difficult. Air comes through a filter. It is filtered, but it is also restricted. You have to work to breathe. Deep breaths are impossible. You feel like you are suffocating. Your breath echoes inside the mask. Loud. Disturbing. Like being in a cave with something breathing on you. Talking is nearly impossible. Your voice is muffled. Distorted. You sound like you are underwater. Or like some kind of monster. Communication becomes gesture and shouting. And even shouting does not help much. The rubber absorbs sound. Wearing the mask for more than a few minutes is agony. Your face sweats. The moisture cannot evapate. It runs down inside the mask. Your nose itches, but you cannot scratch it. Your face itches. Everything itches. And you cannot touch your face. The mask is in the way. Panic attacks are common, especially in children. You put the mask on a child and they freak out. They feel trapped, smothered. They claw at the mask trying to get it off. They scream. But the screaming is muffled, so it sounds even more horrifying. You have to hold them down. Force them to wear it until they calm down. It is traumatic for everyone. Gas mask drills are regular. The sirens sound for a drill. You have 90 seconds to put on your mask. You practice, over and over. At school, at work, at home. The drills are tedious but necessary. If gas does come, you need to be fast. 90 seconds or you are dead. Some drills use tear gas in sealed rooms. To test your mask. To motivate you to get it on quickly. You file into a room. The tear gas is released. If your mask is on properly, you are fine. If not, you suffer. Eyes burning. Nose running. Coughing. Gasping. It is horrible, but it teaches you. You get your mask on properly after that. The masks deteriorate over time. Rubber cracks. Straps break. Filters clog. You are supposed to maintain them, but supplies for repairs are limited. You patch them as best you can. Tape. Glue. Whatever works. But you wonder, if gas actually comes, will this damaged mask save you? Probably not. Children outgrow their masks. A mask issued in 1939 does not fit in 1941. The child has grown. But new masks are not readily available. You make do with the old one, adjusting straps. It does not fit properly anymore, but it is all you have. The baby masks are a special horror. The entire baby goes inside. A rubberized canvas bag with a window. You zip them in. They cannot move. Cannot be held properly. You have to pump air in with a bellows. 30 pumps per minute. You count. You cannot stop. If you stop pumping, your baby suffocates. The responsibility is crushing. And the babies hate it. They cry, scream, fight. You are trying to save their life and they are fighting you. You have to force them in. Hold them down while you zip it. Their little faces pressed against the plastic window. Terrified. Accusing. It breaks your heart. Some people refuse to use them. Gas masks are uncomfortable. The attacks are not happening. They are not going to happen. This is all hysteria. They stop carrying them. Risk the fines. Risk the gas. Most get away with it. Because the wardens cannot check everyone. And the gas never comes. But the fear remains. What if tonight is the night? What if the Germans decide to use gas? You will die because you were not carrying your mask. That fear keeps most people compliant. Keeps them carrying the hated thing day after day. The masks also become symbols of the war, of preparedness, of the constant threat. You see someone without their mask and you judge them. Irresponsible, foolish. You see someone with a well-maintained mask and you respect them. Responsible, prepared. The mask is more than equipment. It is identity. After the war, the masks are discarded quickly. People cannot wait to get rid of them. They throw them away, burn them, anything to be free of them. But the memory remains. That smell, that claustrophobic tightness, the fear that came with it. You never forget. Chapter 23. The Elderly. Now let us talk about the ones who have already lived through one war and cannot believe they have to endure another. The elderly. The ones who should be spending their final years in peace but instead are facing bombs again. You are 70 years old. You remember the last war, World War I. You lost friends, maybe a brother, maybe a son. You remember the rationing, the fear, the grief. You thought that was it, the war to end all wars. And now here you are again, older, frailier, and the bombs are falling on your city this time, not some distant battlefield. Here, your body does not work like it used to. Your hearing is going. You do not hear the sirens as quickly. By the time you register that wailing sound, others are already running to the shelters. You try to hurry, but your legs will not cooperate. Arthritis, old injuries. You shuffle when you need to sprint. And the terror of being caught in the open, too slow to reach safety, it is paralyzing. The shelter is a special kind of hell for you. Those stairs down into the Anderson shelter. Steep, narrow. Your knees are shot. Going down is agony. Coming back up is worse. You need help. Someone to support you. But everyone is in a hurry. Panicked. They push past you. You cling to the handrail and inch your way down while bombs are falling overhead. The cold in the shelter is brutal. Your circulation is poor. Your bones ache constantly. That damp, freezing shelter is torture. You wrap yourself in every blanket you own and you still shiver uncontrollably. The younger people complain about the cold. They have no idea. For you, it is genuinely dangerous. Hypothermia is a real risk. Sleep is impossible. Your joints are screaming. The hard bench or cold floor is unbearable. You cannot get comfortable. You shift position constantly trying to find relief. There is none. And even if you could get comfortable, the noise keeps you awake. You are hard of hearing normally, but somehow the explosions cut through. Each one jolts you, spikes your heart rate. At your age, your heart cannot take this stress. The morning after is worse. You emerge from the shelter stiff and barely able to move. Takes you an hour to straighten up, to get your joints working. You shuffle home through rubble-strewn streets. Streets you have known for 50 years. Now unrecognizable. And you wonder, what is the point? You have lived your life. Why are you still here? Why are you suffering? Food rationing hits you hard. The rations are calculated for average adults, not for elderly people with specific dietary needs. You need soft foods. Your teeth are mostly gone. Chewing is difficult, but you get the same hard bread, the same tough meat as everyone else. You struggle to eat it. You go hungry rather than fight with food you cannot manage. Medicine is scarce. You have conditions, diabetes, heart problems, blood pressure. You need medication, but supplies are limited, prioritized for younger people, for workers, for soldiers. You are expendable. You make your medication last, cutting pills in half, skipping doses. Your health deteriorates, but what choice do you have? Loneliness is crushing. Your spouse is probably dead. Your children are grown, maybe fighting in the war, maybe evacuated. You are alone in your house. When the sirens sound, you go to the shelter alone. You sit alone in the dark. If you die, it might be days before anyone notices. The isolation is as deadly as the bombs. Some elderly people cannot manage. They are too frail, too confused. They have dementia. They do not understand the air raids. Why are there loud noises? Where is everyone going? You try to explain. Try to get them to the shelter. They fight you. They want to stay in their bed. You cannot force them. So they stay. And sometimes they die. The rest centers after raids try to help. But they are overwhelmed. The elderly need special care. Help with mobility, with medication, with basic activities. The centers cannot provide it. You are given a cup of tea and a blanket and told to cope. How? You cannot cope. But you have to. Evacuation is suggested. Leave London. Go to the countryside where it is safer. But you have lived in London your entire life. This is your home. Your memories are here. Your dead are buried here. Leave? To go where? To stay with strangers who resent having to take you in? No. You would rather die in your home than live as a burden elsewhere. And some do die. Heart attacks from the stress. Strokes. Falls in the blackout. Hypothermia in the shelters. Malnutrition. Pneumonia from the damp and cold. The bombs do not have to hit you directly to kill you. The conditions alone are enough. You watch your neighbors die, people your age, friends you have had for decades. One by one they disappear, killed in raids, dead from illness. You attend funerals. So many funerals. You wonder when it will be your turn. Part of you wants it to be soon. Get it over with. The other part clings to life with surprising ferocity. You have survived this long. You will not let Hitler kill you now. The young ones do not understand. They think you have it easier. You are retired. No job to go to. You can rest during the day. They do not see that you never rest. That every day is a struggle. That just existing at your age in these conditions is an endurance test. Some elderly people become heroes. RP wardens. Fire watchers. They cannot run. Cannot do heavy work. But they can watch. They can warn. They stay on rooftops during raids, looking for incendiaries. Too old to be afraid anymore. Too tired to care. If a bomb hits them, so be it. At least they die doing something useful. Others become burdens and they know it. They hate it. You need help from your children, from neighbors. You cannot manage the stairs, cannot carry water, cannot clear rubble. You feel useless, guilty, like you are taking resources from people who have more life left to live. The guilt eats at you as much as the bombs scare you. And then there is the grief, not just for the dead, but for the world you knew. London is being destroyed, the city of your youth, the places where you courted your spouse, where you raised your children, where you built a life, all being blown to pieces. You are watching your history burn. It is a special kind of loss that the young cannot comprehend. Some elderly find purpose in helping others. You might be old, but you can still knit. You make socks for soldiers, scarves, blankets. Your arthritic fingers work slowly, but they work. You contribute. It gives you reason to keep going. You matter, even at the end, even now. Others embrace fatalism. You have lived a good life, a long life. If it ends tonight, you have no complaints. This attitude brings peace. You stop being afraid. You accept what comes. And paradoxically, this acceptance lets you enjoy what time remains. Small pleasures, cup of tea, a sunny morning, these become profound. But the nightmares are relentless. You survived World War I. Those memories are buried deep. The Blitz digs them up. You dream of trenches, of mud, of gas attacks. You wake screaming, and for a moment you do not know which war you are in. Both blend together into one long nightmare. You have been at war your entire adult life. When does it end? When do you get peace? Chapter 24. The Schools and Education. Now let us talk about something that is supposed to represent the future. Education. Schools. Except learning during the Blitz is nearly impossible. School buildings are requisitioned, converted into hospitals, rest centers, RP posts, mortuaries. The children lose their schools. Where do they learn now? In church halls, in private homes, in shelters, anywhere there is space. The quality of education plummets. Teachers are scarce. Male teachers are conscripted, fighting. Women teachers are pulled into other war work. The ones who remain are stretched impossibly thin. One teacher for 50 children. Different ages, different abilities. How do you teach effectively? You cannot. You do your best. It is not enough. Attendance is erratic. Children are evacuated to the countryside, then brought back, then evacuated again. They miss weeks, months. When they return, they are behind. You try to catch them up, but more children are leaving. Others are arriving. The constant churn makes continuity impossible. The children who stay in London attend when they can. Night raids mean no sleep. They come to school exhausted, unable to concentrate. They fall asleep at their desks. You let them. What else can you do? They need rest more than they need lessons. Air raid drills disrupt everything. You start a lesson. The sirens sound. Drill or real, you do not know yet. Everyone files to the shelter. You wait. If it is a drill, you return after 20 minutes. If it is real, you might be there for hours. Either way, the lesson is destroyed. You cannot maintain flow, cannot build on previous lessons. Everything is fragmented. School shelters are crowded and chaotic. Hundreds of children packed into basements or purpose-built shelters. The noise is incredible. Children crying. Teachers trying to maintain order. You cannot teach in these conditions. You tell stories. Lead sing-alongs. Anything to keep them calm and quiet. Learning does not happen. Resources are minimal. Paper is rationed. Pencils are scarce. Textbooks are outdated or destroyed in raids. You make do. You use slates. Children share pencils. Pass them down as they finish their work. Books are treasured. Handled carefully. If a book is damaged, it cannot be replaced. The curriculum has shifted. Less mathematics and literature. More practical skills. First aid. How to deal with incendiaries. Air raid procedures. The children learn how to survive. Is that education? In a way. But they are missing fundamentals. Reading, writing, critical thinking. An entire generation is being shortchanged. Some schools soldier on heroically. Teachers committed to maintaining standards. They teach full lessons in impossible conditions. They give homework even though half the children have no quiet place to complete it. They mark assignments by candlelight after working all day. They refuse to let the war destroy education. These teachers are saints. Others have given up. They babysit, keep the children safe and occupied. Actual teaching is beyond their capacity. They are too tired, too traumatized. They go through the motions, but their heart is not in it. The children sense it. They become unruly, undisciplined. The classroom becomes chaos. Exams are a joke. How do you standardize testing when some children have had consistent schooling and others have been in and out of evacuation? The exams happen anyway. Children sit them, fail them. Their futures are being determined by circumstances beyond their control. Grammar school entrance at age 11. The 11+ exam. This determines your entire future. Pass and you go to grammar school. University. Professions. Fail and you go to secondary modern. Trade school. Limited prospects. But how can you pass when your education has been bombed to pieces? Literally. Some children do. Extraordinarily bright or lucky. Most do not. Their potential is wasted. School meals become crucial. For many children, the school meal is the only proper food they get. Breakfast clubs serve porridge. Lunch is soup and bread. The food is basic but nutritious. The government ensures it. Children who are hungry cannot learn. So feed them. It is practical. It is also life-saving. Evacuated schools face different problems. Country schools absorbing London children. The culture clash is immense. City children speaking in accents the country children mock. Wearing different clothes. Having different expectations. Bullying is rampant. The London children are outsiders. They band together. Fight back. The schools become battlegrounds. The education is better in the countryside. Safer. More consistent. But the emotional cost is high. Children separated from parents. Living with strangers. They are homesick. Anxious. Their school performance suffers despite the better conditions. You cannot learn when you are consumed by worry about whether your family is alive. Some children thrive academically. They escape into books, into learning. It is a refuge from the chaos around them. They read voraciously, everything they can find. They excel despite the circumstances. These are the exceptions. The children who will rebuild Britain after the war. But they are few. Most children fall behind. Developmentally, academically, emotionally, they lose years of education. Years they will never get back. Some will catch up after the war, through night school, through determination. Others will not. They will enter the workforce uneducated, unskilled, their potential unfulfilled. A generation scarred by interrupted education. Teachers suffer too. They are trying to educate under impossible conditions. They watch their students traumatized, killed. They cannot protect them, cannot give them the education they deserve. The guilt is crushing. They second-guess everything. Should I have evacuated with the school? Should I have stayed? Either choice feels wrong. And the school buildings that remain are damaged. Windows blown out, roofs leaking, no heat in winter. You teach in overcoats. The children shiver at their desks, their fingers too cold to hold pencils. You do physical exercises to warm them up. Jumping jacks, running in place, then back to the lesson, pretending this is normal. Playgrounds become scrap collections. Railings are removed for the war effort. The metal is needed. Children play on concrete. No grass, no equipment, just concrete and rubble. Their play becomes rougher, more violent. They act out the war. Germans versus British. Dogfights, bombings. It is how they process. But it is dark, disturbing, and always the question, is this worth it? You are trying to educate children for a future that might not exist. If Britain loses, what is the point of education? If the children die in the bombing, what is the point? You push those thoughts away. You teach because you must. Because education is hope. Because these children are the future. If there is a future. Chapter 25. The Identity and Papers. Let us talk about something mundane that becomes critical. Your papers. Your identity. In wartime, proving who you are is essential. And losing that proof is disaster. Your National Registration Identity Card, issued to every civilian in September 1939. This is your primary document. It has your name, your address, your national registration number. You carry it always. You must produce it on demand. Police, RP wardens, anyone in authority can ask. No card? You have a problem. The card is flimsy, paper. It wears out from constant use. From being carried in your pocket, from being pulled out repeatedly. Tears, the writing smudges. After 2 years of the Blitz, your card is barely legible. But getting a replacement is bureaucratic nightmare. You need to prove who you are to get the card that proves who you are. The logic is circular and maddening. Your ration book is tied to your identity. Without it, you cannot buy food, clothes, fuel, anything rationed, which is everything. The ration book has your registration number, your name, coupons for specific items. It is your lifeline. Lose it and you starve. And people do lose them. Your house is bombed. Everything you own is destroyed or buried, including your identity card, your ration book, your birth certificate, every document that proves you exist. Now what? You go to the authorities. You explain. They are sympathetic. But sympathy does not feed you. You need new documents. The process is agonizing. You need proof of identity to get new identity documents. But your proof was destroyed. You need witnesses, people who can vouch for you. But your neighbors are dead, or scattered, or they do not have their own papers. How can they vouch for you? You fill out forms, in triplicate, by hand. You wait, weeks, months. In the meantime, you cannot access your rations, cannot work if your employer requires papers, cannot do anything official. You exist in limbo, a non-person. Some people exploit this. The destroyed records create opportunities for fraud. You can claim to be someone else, someone who died in the bombing, assume their identity, access their rations. It happens. The authorities know it happens. But catching fraudsters is nearly impossible when the records are destroyed. Black market identity cards exist. Forged. Stolen from the dead. You can buy them if you have money and connections. Some people do. Criminals. Deserters. People hiding from something. The fake papers are often good enough. The authorities are too overwhelmed to scrutinize closely. Children's identities are particularly vulnerable. Birth certificates destroyed. Parents dead. Who is this child? What is their name? Sometimes they know. Sometimes they do not. Traumatized children who cannot remember, cannot speak. They are assigned names. Identities based on best guesses. Some grow up never knowing who they really were. Elderly people with dementia lose their papers and cannot explain who they are. They are found wandering. No identification. They cannot remember their name, their address. They are taken to rest centers, to hospitals, unidentified. They die without anyone knowing, buried as unknown civilians. Their families do not know what happened to them. Foreign nationals have extra layers of complexity. Refugees, immigrants, their papers are scrutinized more carefully. Suspicion of spies is rampant. If you have a German-sounding name, if you speak with an accent, you are detained, questioned, even if you fled the Nazis, even if you are Jewish. Paranoia does not discriminate. Internment camps hold thousands of enemy aliens. Germans, Italians, Japanese. Many are long-time British residents. Loyal, productive, but their papers mark them as foreign. As threats, they are rounded up, sent to camps, separated from families, imprisoned without trial, for years, just because of their nationality. Work permits require identity documents. You want to work? Show your papers. But if they are destroyed, you cannot work, cannot earn money, cannot support your family. You do desperate things. Work illegally, under the table. No papers required. But the pay is terrible. The conditions are exploitative. You have no recourse. Traveling requires papers, checkpoints, restricted areas, near military installations, near docks. You want to pass? Show your identity card. Explain your purpose. If you cannot prove who you are, where you are going, why you are going there, you are turned back, or arrested as a suspected spy. The paranoia about spies is intense. Anyone without papers is suspect. Anyone with the wrong accent, the wrong background, you can be detained, interrogated. The authorities are trying to prevent sabotage, prevent espionage, but they also detain innocent people, traumatize them, destroy their lives based on suspicion alone. Women who marry during the Blitz face bureaucratic tangles. Your name changes, but your papers have your old name. You need to update everything. Marriage certificate, identity card, ration book. But getting married during wartime means rushed ceremonies. Civil ceremonies in damaged registry offices. Paperwork gets lost. You cannot prove you are married. Cannot access your husband's benefits if he is in the military. The bureaucracy is suffocating. Death certificates are essential for survivors. Your husband is killed. You need proof to access widow's benefits, to settle his affairs. But obtaining a death certificate when the body is unidentifiable, when the records are destroyed, nearly impossible. You fight the bureaucracy for months, years, just to get official recognition that your spouse is dead. And throughout all of this, the bombing continues. You finally get your replacement papers. You carry them carefully, protecting them, and then your house is hit again. The papers are destroyed again. You start over, again. The cycle is maddening. Sisyphean. You wonder if you will ever have stable documentation again. The psychological impact of losing your identity papers is profound. You are erased, officially, without that card, that registration number. You do not exist. You are invisible to the bureaucracy, unprovable. The feeling of being erased while still alive is deeply disturbing. You question your own existence. After the war, the identity card system continues. It is finally abolished in 1952, 7 years after the war ends. The relief is immense. You can exist without carrying papers, without proving yourself constantly. Freedom from documentation feels like real freedom, but the scars remain. The trauma of being a non-person, of fighting to prove you exist. That does not fade quickly. Chapter 26. The final adaptation. So you have been living this way for months now. The Blitz has become your new normal. Let us talk about how you adapt. How human beings can adjust to almost anything. Even hell. You develop routines. Routines that would be insane in peacetime but now feel natural. You wake up. Check if the house is still standing. Make tea if you have water and gas. Eat breakfast if you have food. Go to work. Come home. Prepare for the night. Gather shelter supplies. Check blackout curtains. Wait for the sirens. This is your life now. The fear changes. It does not go away, but it becomes duller. Chronic instead of acute. You are always afraid. But the sharp terror of the early days fades into background dread. You function despite it. Work despite it. Live despite it. The fear is just part of you now. Like breathing. You learn to sleep in impossible conditions. Remember when you first went to the shelter? You could not sleep at all. Too uncomfortable. Too noisy. Too frightening. But after weeks of exhaustion, your body adapts. You can sleep sitting up. Sleep through explosions if they are distant enough. Sleep becomes automatic. Your body takes it when it can get it. You become numb to death. The first few bodies you saw devastated you. You could not look. Could not process. Now you step over them. You walk past craters where people died. You hear casualty figures and they are just numbers. You have to become numb or you would go insane. The human capacity for adaptation includes the capacity to stop feeling. Social bonds change. Your old friends might be dead. Evacuated. You form new bonds with the people you shelter with night after night. These are not friends in the traditional sense. You do not socialize. You do not visit each other's homes. But you are bonded by shared trauma. You trust them with your life. They trust you with theirs. You develop dark humor. Jokes about bombs. About death. About Hitler. You laugh at things that would horrify your past self. A man is blown out of his bed by a blast and lands in the street unharmed. Hilarious. A woman's false teeth are blown out of her mouth and she spends the morning looking for them in the rubble. Comedy gold. You laugh because if you do not laugh you will cry. And crying does not help. You become resourceful in ways you never imagined. Your house has no windows. You board them up with whatever you can find. Scrap wood. Cardboard. Anything. Your roof is damaged. You patch it with tar paper and hope. You cook on improvised stoves. You wash with cold water. You mend clothes that should be thrown away. You make do. You always make do. Your priorities shift dramatically. Things that seemed important before are trivial now. Fashion, appearances, status. None of it matters. What matters is staying alive, feeding your family, keeping a roof over your head. Everything else is noise. You start thinking in terms of odds. Probability becomes your religion. The odds of a bomb hitting your specific house are low. You remind yourself of this. Thousands of houses. Limited bombs. You are probably safe. Probably. The odds are not great, but they are better than nothing. You bet your life on probability every night. You develop superstitions out of desperation. Lucky charms. Rituals. If I do X, then Y will not happen. It is irrational. You know it is irrational. But humans need to feel some control. Even illusory control is better than none. So you perform your rituals. Touch the door frame. Check the shelter supplies in a specific order. Wear your lucky scarf. It does not actually help, but it helps you cope. Your relationship with time changes. The future is meaningless. Planning beyond tomorrow is absurd. You might be dead by then, so you live in the present. Right now, this moment, this breath. You appreciate small things you never noticed before. Sunrise, a hot cup of tea, quiet moment. These become profound because they might be your last. You stop trying to maintain appearances. You used to care about being clean, well-dressed, presentable. Now you wear the same clothes for days. You smell. Everyone smells. You stop caring. Survival is more important than hygiene, more important than social niceties. You become feral, and so does everyone else. Your empathy becomes selective. You cannot care about everyone who dies. There are too many. So you care about the people close to you. Family, friends, neighbors. Everyone else is abstract. You hear about hundreds dead in a raid and you feel nothing. You hear your neighbor's son is missing and you weep. You have to ration your emotional energy. Spend it carefully. Children born during the Blitz know nothing else. This is their normal. Bombs, shelters, rations. They do not remember peace. They do not know life can be different. It is tragic, but also in some ways easier. They are not comparing this to anything better. They just accept it. This is how life is. You form new values. Courage is redefined. It is not grand heroic acts. It is showing up to work exhausted. It is getting your children to the shelter one more time. It is continuing when you want to give up. It is small, quiet, daily, and it is more impressive than any dramatic gesture. Community becomes essential. The class divisions that defined British society before the war break down. A little. The Duchess in the shelter next to the charwoman. The banker and the docker sharing a cup of tea in the rubble. Shared suffering creates shared humanity. It does not erase the class system, but it dents it. You realize you are stronger than you thought. You would never have believed you could endure this, but you have. Months of it. You are still here, still functioning. The human spirit is more resilient than you imagined, and more fragile, both at once. The adaptation is necessary. It is survival, but it is also loss. You are not the person you were before the Blitz. That person is gone, killed by the experience. You are someone different now, harder, colder, less innocent, more aware of human capacity for both good and evil. You will carry this for the rest of your life. And even as you adapt, part of you resists. Part of you refuses to accept this as normal. That part is important. It is what keeps you human, what prevents you from becoming completely brutalized. You adapt to survive, but you do not fully surrender to it. Not completely. There is still a part of you that remembers peace, that longs for it, that fights to retain some shred of who you were. This is the final adaptation. Learning to live in two worlds simultaneously. The world of the Blitz where death is random and life is cheap. And the world you remember. The world you hope to return to someday. You exist in both. Straddling the boundary. Adapted to horror but not defined by it. Surviving but not surrendering. It is a delicate balance. And you walk it every single day. Conclusion. So, how has your day been? Pretty comfortable, right? Maybe you are lying in bed, safe and warm. Maybe you are in a quiet room. No sirens, no bombs, no fear. You can sleep without wondering if you will wake up. You can walk outside without checking the sky for bombers. You can eat a meal without rationing. Turn on a light without worrying about blackout regulations. And go about your life without the constant, gnawing dread of violent death. You have just spent the last few hours in the shoes of a London civilian during the Blitz. You have felt the terror of the air raid sirens. You have huddled in freezing, filthy shelters. You have listened to bombs fall. You have emerged to find your city in ruins. You have gone hungry, gone without sleep, watched people die. And here is the wildest part. This was not some distant, ancient conflict. There are people still alive who remember this. Your grandparents, maybe. Your great-grandparents. This is living memory. These are real people who went through real hell and came out the other side. The Blitz lasted from September 1940 to May 1941. 57 consecutive nights of bombing in London, then intermittent attacks for months after. Over 40,000 civilians dead across Britain. Over 130,000 injured. Homes destroyed. Families shattered. Lives irrevocably changed. And they did not have a choice. They could not just leave. Most of them had nowhere to go. They had to stay, had to endure, had to survive night after terrifying night. They went to work the next day. They took care of their children. They kept the city running. Because what else could they do? Think about the children who grew up during this, who learned to fear the sky, who watched their homes burn, who lost parents, siblings, friends. Think about the trauma they carried, some for the rest of their lives. Think about the rescuers who pulled bodies from the rubble night after night, who saw unspeakable things and had to keep going, who saved lives knowing they could not save everyone. Think about the parents trying to keep their children safe when there was no real safety, trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy when the world had gone mad. The myth of the Blitz spirit tells us they were stoic, unbreakable, cheerful in the face of adversity. The reality is they were terrified human beings doing the best they could in an impossible situation. And that is more impressive than any myth, because myths are not real. But those people were. Their fear was real, their suffering was real, and their endurance, born not of heroism but of sheer necessity, was real. We remember the Blitz as a historical event. Dates and statistics and famous photographs. But it was not an event. It was a series of individual experiences. Thousands of people, each with their own story of terror and survival. Some made it, some did not. And the ones who made it were changed forever. So tonight, when you turn off the lights and go to sleep, maybe take a moment. Think about the fact that you can do this without fear. That the darkness is just darkness, not a threat. That the sky is just the sky. That you are safe in a way that millions of people throughout history have not been. Say a quiet thank you to the people who endured the Blitz so that you do not have to. To the ones who kept the lights off and the spirits up. To the ones who ran towards danger to save strangers. To the ones who simply survived. And maybe when you hear the narrative about the good old days, about how people were tougher back then, about the Blitz spirit, remember what it actually was. It was not some golden age of heroism. It was hell. And the people who lived through it were not superhuman. They were just people, like you. But they did something extraordinary. They survived. They kept going. They rebuilt. And they passed on a world that, for all its flaws, is better than the one they inherited. A world where you can sleep without fear of bombs. Where children can grow up without knowing terror. Where the night is just the night. That is their legacy. Not a myth. Not a story, but a gift, the gift of peace, hard-won, dearly bought, and worth remembering. So sleep well tonight, and remember,